Dual Cultivation AudioBook by Kevin Chapter 876, Xian Nai's Decision. Xian Nai, what are you doing here? Don't tell me you came all the way here just to say goodbye to me. Su Yang said to him. Indeed, it was ancestor Xian from the Western continent. Ha ha ha, Xian Nai laughed out loud for a good moment before speaking. Of course not. I'm here because I also want to go to the divine heavens. What? Su Yang's eyes widened. After meeting you, I have realized how small my view actually is, like a frog inside a well. I want to broaden my views by going to the divine heavens, and hopefully, I will be able to continue cultivating even more, Xian Nai said. And he continued, I have realized this long ago, but as long as I stay in this world, my cultivation will not go any higher. Therefore, I can only take my chances in another world where the spiritual energy is much stronger there. Perhaps I can even experience life as a disciple again. Su Yang smiled and said, You may be a peak expert in this world, but in the divine heavens, being a sovereign at your age, I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, but you will be compared to trash very often. You'll have a hard time finding a sect that's willing to accept you as a disciple. Xian Nai laughed even louder after hearing Su Yang's words. That's even better. I like a good challenge, Xian Nai said. What did your family say? They were surprised, but that doesn't matter. I am already barely in their lives these days. It won't make a difference whether I'm in this world or not, Xian Nai said. It was common for him to disappear for decades, even centuries, without any notices, so his family probably wouldn't even notice that he'd left this world unless he told them beforehand. I see. Well, even though your cultivation is pretty bad for someone your age, that is only because of the limits in this world. If you had been born in the divine heavens, you would probably be a pretty powerful body refiner by now, so you might still have a chance. Su Yang suddenly said to him. What, really? You really think so? Xian Nai's eyes widened with surprise after hearing Su Yang's remarks. Yes, you're pretty talented. I noticed it when we sparred with each other. Your physique is pretty solid if only you'd been given a good technique and trained properly. Su Yang nodded. Ha ha ha, this is great news. Thank you, Su Yang. Xian Nai bowed to him. By the way, the teleportation formation you made worked like wonders. Although it had cost me a couple of millions of spirit stones, I was able to teleport from the western continent to the southern continent without any troubles, and it was also almost instantaneous. Xian Nai gave Su Yang his feedback on the teleport formations. Good to hear, Su Yang said. Anyways, how long until we can go to the divine heavens? Xian Nai then asked. Judging by the spiritual energy in the area, the treasure should be very close to appearing. I wouldn't be surprised if it appears today. I see. Then if you're not busy, let's talk until it appears. I want to learn more about the divine heavens before we go, after all. Su Yang nodded, sure. I just finished cultivating with everyone anyway. Xian Nai smiled at his words. Lucky bastard. Sometime later, Su Yang and Xian Nai began chatting with each other. As the name Four Divine Heavens implies, there are 4 different worlds in the place we're going. Of course, there are other worlds, but they are too small when compared to the divine heavens to be considered a world. These small worlds are usually called minor heavens, but there are famous ones that have their own name. The 4 divine heavens are the major ones, and they consist of the spirit heaven, martial heaven, celestial heaven, and lastly, the jade heaven. I was born in the celestial heaven, which is ranked 3rd amongst all the 4 divine heavens. Wait, they're ranked. By what? Their strength? Xian Nai asked. Yes, each world is ranked by the overall prowess that occupies their world and other things, but ultimately it's decided by a tournament that has each world's strongest cultivators fight against each other. Most people don't care about the rank of each divine heavens. It's usually only the lords of the divine heavens that really care about it. Lords, like rulers? Xian Nai asked. Su Yang nodded. Just like how every continent in this world has its own ruling family, there is a ruler for each of the divine heavens. However, there is one true ruler in the four divine heavens, and that is the heavenly emperor. The other four are merely his pawns that were given the right to rule. In fact, the heavenly emperor rules not just the four divine heavens but also all of the minor heavens around it. Good Lord, the heavenly emperor. How powerful must this guy be in order to rule the heavens? Su Yang showed a bittersweet smile and said, "He's powerful, very powerful. However, he's not the most powerful cultivator in the world. It's his connections and the strength of his family that allows him to rule the heavens. Anyways, enough about the heavenly emperor. Let me tell you about each of the divine heavens briefly so you have an understanding." Thus, Su Yang continued to introduce the divine heavens to Xian Nai. The celestial heaven and martial heaven are pretty much the same when it comes to similarities between each world, with only some differences in their environments and whatnot. It's only the spirit heaven and jade heaven that truly differentiates itself from the others. The jade heaven is ranked fourth, but they are mostly famous for their wealth. In other words, the wealthiest of the four divine heavens is the jade heaven. They are so wealthy that even if the other three divine heavens combine their wealth together, it would still not surpass the jade heaven. If you want to make money, you should go to the jade heaven. Su Yang said to him. Chapter 877, Four Divine Heavens Economy, the Jade Heaven. I will keep that in mind. And speaking of wealth, how different is it in the divine heavens compared to this place when it comes to their economy? Xian Nai asked. It's entirely different. While they also have spirit stones and still use them as currencies, it's only worth as much as coins due to mortals in this world in the four divine heavens. In other words, mortals use spirit stones as if they are coins over there, whilst spirit stones are worth a fortune to mortals in this world. What the heck? Then what do cultivators use? Xian Nai asked. Spirit stones, but a different kind. Su Yang then retrieved a spirit stone and showed it to him. Imagine this tiny spirit stone a little bigger, and it contains enough spiritual energy to make a cultivator at the elementary spirit realm reach the heavenly spirit realm before running out of spiritual energy. Xian Nai's jaw dropped. How can such spirit stones possibly exist? There are ordinary spirit stones in the divine heavens, and then there are medium-grade spirit stones, high-grade spirit stones, and flawless spirit stones. Of course, the higher grade the spirit stone, the more it's worth. For comparison, one medium-grade spirit stone is worth about 10,000 ordinary low-grade spirit stones, and one high-grade spirit stone is worth 10,000 medium-grade spirit stones. Heavens! Xian Nai mumbled in a dazed voice. There are also these things called spirit jades used as currencies, and they are as valuable as spirit stones are to mortals in this world. Even a single low-grade spirit jade is worth as much as 100,000 flawless spirit stones. They are usually used to exchange for extremely valuable treasures that cannot be paid in spirit stones since it'll cost too much. Su Yang explained the economy to Xian Nai, who was left speechless by such knowledge. Anyways, that's the gist of the economy in the four divine heavens. There are other things used as currencies, but spirit stones and spirit jades are the norms. Now onto the spirit heaven, which is ranked second. The way this place differs from the others is the people living in this world. People? Xian Nai raised his eyebrows. When I say people, they're not really humans. Magical beasts, divine beasts, and even demons. The spirit heaven is occupied by mostly these kinds of existences. Su Yang explained. In other words, spirit heaven is the home of magical beasts and the likes, and the majority of them take on the form of humans to make things more convenient for them. I see. I have seen a couple of magical beasts transforming into humans before, but I can count them on one hand, so an entire world of them, I cannot imagine, Xian Nai said. Su Yang smiled and he continued, next is the martial heaven, and they are ranked first in terms of overall prowess. If you're looking for talented cultivators, that's where you go, as that's where all of the best talents in the four divine heavens seemingly gather. If you want to become the strongest out there, that'll also be your destination. Xian Nai immediately smiled and said, "So you're telling me to go to the martial heaven?" Su Yang nodded. "If you want to learn from the best, that is where you should go. From chi refiners to body refiners to alchemy masters and dual cultivators, the martial heaven has it all. Not only are they the most diverse, but they are also the strongest. I will personally be going there to increase my cultivation once I find a place to settle down with my family." And he continued, "However, we don't know where the treasure will take us, nor can we control it. We might land in any of the four divine heavens, or we might land somewhere else that's not related to the four divine heavens. Let's say we land in the spirit heaven. How do we travel to another divine heaven?" Xian Nai asked. "There will be teleport formations in most major cities that can take you to the other divine heavens, almost like the ones in this world. Of course, they're much more powerful and will cost you even more spirit stones," Su Yang said. "The four divine heavens are by no means close to each other. It'll take you more than just a few million spirit stones to use it. How much does it usually cost?" Su Yang pondered for a moment before speaking. "It varies depending on where you're going and your location before the teleport, but it's going to cost you at least a few 100,000 high-grade spirit stones." Xian Nai's jaw dropped upon hearing that enormous amount. If a single high-grade spirit stone is worth 10,000 medium grade, and one medium grade is worth 10,000 ordinary spirit stones, it would cost at least a few trillions of spirit stones to use the teleport formation. It was an astronomical amount that he couldn't even fathom. Heavens, I hope we'll get teleported directly to the martial heaven. It'll probably take me the rest of my life to collect that much. In fact, I will probably die long before then, Xian Nai sighed. "Don't worry, it may seem like a lot to you right now, but once you get used to life in the divine heavens, 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, even a few million, won't appear to be that much." "I hope so." Xian Nai sighed, feeling his confidence shattering even before he arrived at the divine heavens. "Who knows, maybe you'll have a fortunate encounter and obtain some valuable treasure that'll pay for your trip and more." Su Yang chuckled. "That sounds like a joke, but in the cultivation world that isn't too far-fetched. In fact, it's entirely possible." Xian Nai shook his head with a smile. Sometime later, Xian Nai asked, "Tell me more about the celestial heaven. You were born there, right?" Su Yang nodded. "But there's nothing really special about the celestial heaven. It's like your standard cultivation world, but much larger, I guess." Chapter 878, Entering the Silver Dimension Gate, End of Vol. 9. "Then how about telling me about your birthplace and your family background if you don't mind?" Xian Nai then asked him. "My background, huh?" Su Yang tilted his head and looked at the clear blue sky. "Just like the celestial heaven, there is nothing impressive or unique about my background. I was born in an ordinary family. Once I was able to start cultivating, I left my family and started exploring the world. In fact, I didn't even take cultivation seriously at first. It was not until I met my first love that I started cultivating seriously." "Your first love? Now that sounds interesting. It's your typical love story, though." "She was a powerful warrior who fought for a certain kingdom. I fell in love at first sight, and in order to make my presence known to her, I trained until she finally noticed me. I succeeded and we married. We lived happily for a couple of years, but we eventually learned that she was infertile, which meant she couldn't give birth. I didn't mind it, but she did. There was nothing she nor I could have done at that time, and she eventually passed away from old age because she was a mortal warrior. Well, she was also a cultivator, but she wasn't at the level where she could live for thousands of years. Heavenly spirit realm, that was her peak, whilst I continued to grow and grow, eventually becoming an immortal." Su Yang sighed. "I didn't expect a tragic story. I'm sorry if I brought up your bad memories." Su Yang shook his head and said, "Bad memories? Ha ha ha, Although it was tough at times, it wasn't always like that. In fact, we had plenty of lovely memories together, so much so that it overshadows most of the negative ones, and they were some of the most precious moments in my life. I see. What about your cultivation path? Were you always a dual cultivator? Xian asked him. Nope. I started out as an ordinary cultivator like most people, and I was a sword cultivator for a few hundred years before I decided to become a dual cultivator. You're one of, if not the most unique individual I have ever met, you know, Xian chuckled. A few moments later, Kyu suddenly appeared behind them like a ghost and shouted in an excited tone, Su Yang, it's here. It was at this moment Su Yang realized the changes in the area. Gather everyone, the mirror is appearing, he quickly said. In just a couple of minutes, everyone on the flying ship gathered on the deck. Some of them had fallen asleep after cultivating with Su Yang, but they were immediately awakened after hearing that the treasure was appearing. Once everyone gathered, Su Yang brought them to the ground and retrieved the flying treasure. The other people gathered at the place stared at them with wide eyes. They have been wondering who was on such a mythical treasure for the last few days, but none of these people dared to approach them and ask. To think there were so many heavenly beauties on the flying ship, none of them would have imagined that it was a paradise for men. A few minutes after Su Yang and the others descended to the ground, a large silver mirror with a portal in the middle appeared out of thin air like a ghost. It's here. The mirror of darkness is finally here. See you all on the other side. The people there immediately began walking into the portal without hesitation and disappeared from the southern continent. Very quickly, everyone but Su Yang's group entered the mirror. I will see you ladies later, Su Yang said to them after retrieving the spatial device. See you later, Su Yang. Sun Jingjing gave him a passionate kiss on the lips before entering the doors first, followed by Su Liking, Qi Yue, Wu Jingjing, Zhu Menji, Lian Li, Wang Shuren, Fang Zhelan, Fang Xiaoru, Li Xiaomo, Zhang Xiu Ying, Bai Lihua, Zai Xingfeng, Qin Lianyu, Hong Yuer without the kiss, Su Yin, Yan Yan without the kiss, and last but not least Keiyu. However, before Su Yang actually sent the ladies inside the spatial device, he took out the supreme appearance-altering pill and swallowed it, transforming into a short and round figure, shocking everyone there. What do you think? Su Yang asked them in his new appearance, a short and fat young master with a face that would look good if he were to lose a few dozen pounds. Unbelievable, they all muttered in a voice of disbelief. Even though I know you're Su Yang on the inside, it'll definitely feel awkward cultivating with you in that appearance. No offense. Wang Shuren shrugged when she imagined this round figure embracing her. The others agreed, feeling glad about their choice to cultivate with him first before his change. Su Yang laughed out loud in an unfamiliar voice after hearing their words. See you all later, he said to them with a beaming smile before closing the doors and storing the spatial device inside his dantian. The only one who didn't enter the spatial device was Xiao Rong, who Su Yang will be keeping by his side just in case anything happens because she was at the ancient realm, and Xian, who will be entering the mirror of darkness with him. Xiao Rong, can you enter my dantian as well? It'll be problematic if we're separated, he said to her. Xiao Rong nodded, transforming into her phantom cat form before flying inside his body like a ghost, dumbfounding Xian, who has never seen such a sight until today. Are you ready? Su Yang asked him afterward. Yes, Xian nodded with a solemn look on his face. The two of them approached the mirror and stood before it. Su Yang didn't immediately enter, and he took a moment to look at the sky. Goodbye, everyone. Hopefully, all of you will still be here by the time I return. Su Yang took a deep breath to calm his nerves before taking a step forward and entering the silver dimension gate, followed by Xian, disappearing from this unknown world. Chapter 879, returning to the four divine heavens somewhere in the four divine heavens. An old man that had been sitting in the same position with his eyes closed for the last 4 years suddenly opened his eyes. "So you have finally returned, young man." The old man smiled, showing 2 rows of yellow teeth. He then stood up and took a step forward, appearing countless miles in the distance. It was unknown how far the old man traveled, but he eventually stopped after arriving in a certain world. The old man proceeded to hover in the starry sky and gazed upon this world as though he was heaven itself. After standing there for many days, the old man suddenly lifted his hand and snapped his fingers, causing the spiritual energy in that world to suddenly increase in quality and quantity. Eventually, the entire world was filled with thick spiritual energy that would allow for even divine realm cultivators like Kiyu to break through. This sudden change shocked everybody in that world, and it felt like the world they once knew suddenly changed and became much better, almost like a homeless person waking up inside a house that he owned yet had no idea how he'd obtained it. After pushing this world into a new cultivation era for some reason, the old man turned around and disappeared into the distance, his location unknown. Meanwhile, after entering the silver dimension gate, Su Yang appeared inside this wormhole while his body was moving forward in an uncontrollable manner. "It's been a long time since I last experienced such a long teleportation." Su Yang looked around him, but he was alone despite entering the silver dimension gate with Xian Nai. "Looks like we'll be going separate ways. Good luck, Xian Nai," Su Yang mumbled in a low voice. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Although it was almost impossible to tell the time in the wormhole, Su Yang was sure that at least a month had passed ever since he entered the wormhole, yet he hadn't reached the other side yet. One would normally have started panicking long ago, but Su Yang remained extremely calm. During these few weeks, Su Yang would speak with the ladies inside the spatial device and Xiao Rong. If he wasn't talking to them, he would simply close his eyes and take a nap. He would cultivate if he could, but unfortunately in this chaotic environment, it would be for the best if he didn't cultivate, and it could even potentially attract rift demons. A few more days later, Su Yang suddenly narrowed his eyes, as he suddenly noticed a small but bright light in the distance. However, even though he could see the end, it didn't look like he was getting any closer, and only after waiting a few more days would there be some noticeable changes. "This smell, it's definitely the divine heavens. I am almost there," Su Yang mumbled. The closer he got to the exit, the more his heart throbbed from excitement. A few more weeks later, the exit looked so close that it was practically right in front of Su Yang. Su Yang extended his arms, touching the white light. The next moment it felt as though he'd stopped moving. A bright light suddenly enveloped his vision, forcing him to close his eyes. When he opened his eyes a moment later, Su Yang was no longer inside the wormhole. Instead, he was in the middle of some valley and he was surrounded by mountains that were high enough to pierce the clouds. Su Yang looked around. This profound chi, we're definitely in the divine heavens, but which one are we in? However, he wasn't cultivating to increase his cultivation. He was cultivating to examine the spiritual energy in the air. A few minutes later, a smile appeared on Su Yang's face. "What are the chances? I was born in the celestial heaven in my first life, and in my second life, I will also start from the celestial heaven." Because every divine heaven has their own unique spiritual energy, it was quite easy for Su Yang to figure out his location. With that being said, while he knew that he was within the celestial heaven, he had no clue where he currently was. "Master, can I come outside?" Xiao Rong's voice suddenly resounded in his head. Su Yang then said, "Only if you consume the supreme appearance-altering pill and change your appearance to something less attractive. Furthermore, you are forbidden from transforming to your beast form unless I tell you. I am doing this for your own good, Xiao Rong, as ghost cats are extremely rare and sought after by collectors, much less a phantom cat. You may be in the ancient realm, but there are countless experts stronger than you in this world. You can no longer act as carefree as you used to. Okay, Xiao Rong agreed. Starting today, I will be an abandoned young master named Xiao Yang, and you'll be my cousin, Xiao Rong, Su Yang said to her. Okay. Xiao Rong nodded calmly. Also, can you suppress your cultivation base to sovereign spirit realm as well? Although experts at the ancient realm and above will be able to see through your cultivation base, it'll be fine since they don't usually show themselves in public. Xiao Rong then suppressed her cultivation base until it matched Su Yang's cultivation base at the second level. Great! Now let's figure out where we are, Su Yang said before retrieving his flying boat. A few moments later, they levitated off the ground and flew straight in a direction that was randomly picked by Su Yang. As long as they reach a city, he will be able to locate their position. Once they know their location, he will be able to plan his future chapter 889 celestial provinces. Su Yang and Xiao Rong spent a couple of hours in the air until they finally came across a city. While they were not going full speed, they were still going relatively fast, and if they were still in the eastern continent, they would have already circled around the entire continent 100 times. During their travel, Su Yang relayed the news to Keiyu and the others that they've successfully returned to the divine heavens, and that they were in the celestial heaven where he was born. The ladies were relieved to hear that they had made it to the divine heaven safely, and as much as they wanted to come out of the spatial device to look around, they knew it was too dangerous. Once they arrived at the city, Su Yang descended outside the city before putting away the flying treasure. After taking a deep breath, Su Yang approached the guard standing by the gates and spoke, "Hello, friends. Can you tell me the name of this city?" The guards turned to look at the short and round young man that had just spoken to them, and on his face was a bright and cheerful smile. "You don't know the name of our city? Listen up, fatty. This splendid city is called Thousand Courage City," the guard said to Su Yang in a sneering tone, treating him like some bumpkin who didn't know anything. Thousand Courage City. So we're currently in Lin Province. Su Yang ignored the guard's attitude and mumbled to himself. Once he knew their location, Su Yang walked away from the city and returned to the skies on his flying treasure. However, he didn't go anywhere and merely hovered in the sky while sitting there with a pondering expression. After many minutes of silence, Su Yang finally spoke. "Xiao Rong, I'm going to teach you a little about the celestial heaven now. This is important information you'll need to know." Xiao Rong nodded and quickly put on her learning face, something she got used to doing from taking too many of Qin Liangyu's lessons. The celestial heaven is separated into 9 major provinces, and we call them the 9 celestial provinces. Each province is ruled by a powerful family, and they are usually called the celestial families. Above the celestial families is the celestial dynasty, which governs the entire celestial heaven. You can think of them as the real rulers. The celestial families are the second most powerful backgrounds in the celestial heaven, being only below the celestial dynasty, but that is only in name. Besides the celestial families and the celestial dynasty, there are many outside powers without any official position in the celestial heaven, but are much stronger than the celestial families and even the celestial dynasty. To give you an example, the Usra God clan and the sacred Moon Palace are considered outside powers. Now, as for the reason they're considered outsiders, is simply because their headquarters do not exist in the 4 divine heavens. Most of the truly powerful and influential families are located outside the 4 divine heavens in their own little world, but they are heavily involved in the 4 divine heavens. So even though they don't have any official position in the divine heavens, their presences cannot be ignored and are usually respected more than those in official positions. Su Yang explained to her. Of course, this doesn't just apply to families, as there are also sects that exist outside the divine heavens as well. Anyways, we are currently in the Lin family's territory, the Lin province, and we need to head to the Kiang province so I can pick up a few things I had left behind before. Unfortunately for us, the Kiang province is on the other side of the world, and if we want to reach there, it'll take us years even with a flying treasure. Therefore, we can only rely on a teleport formation. If I recall correctly, there should be one in Red Wind City. But before we go there, we need to obtain the money to even use that thing. Even though he brought a couple of billions of spirit stones with him, it might not be enough to use the teleport formations that usually cost tens of billions of spirit stones, especially if they're traveling across the world. There should be a large open marketplace in a city that's only a couple of days away from Red Wind City. I can go there to fund my trip. This will take about a week. Su Yang said to Xiao Rong, who nodded calmly. Luckily for Xiao Rong, they were in a world she was unfamiliar with, making everything new and entertaining for her. As for Su Yang, as much as he wanted to take his time and look at the scenery until they arrived, he needs to increase his cultivation as fast as possible. Now that they have returned to the divine heavens, his cultivation that halted at the sovereign spirit realm will finally continue to improve at a decent rate. Of course, compared to dual cultivation, cultivating normally will remain inferior. A week later, Su Yang landed the flying treasure a couple of miles away from a certain city and walked to the gates with Xiao Rong by his side. "What's your business here at Yellow Stellar City?" "I would like to sell some stuff at the Stellar Bazaar," said Su Yang to the guard at the gates. "Have you been here before?" "No." "Then you'll have to head to the registration hall and register for a permit. It'll cost you some money. And before you can go to the registration hall, you must pay the city entrance fees." "How much?" Su Yang asked. 100 spirit stones," the guard calmly responded. "Okay." Despite the astronomical entry fee, Su Yang handed 100 spirit stones to the guard without batting an eye. Compared to the other world that only needed a couple of silver to enter most of the cities, asking for 100 spirit stones for the entrance fee was akin to robbery in daylight. But in the divine heavens, it was the norm. Chapter 881 Stellar Bazaar. After handing 100 spirit stones to the guard, Su Yang prepared to enter the city. However, the guard stopped him when he noticed Xiao Rong following him. "Are you two together?" "If so, the entrance fee is 200 spirit stones in total. It's 100 spirit stones per person," the guard said to him. "Oh, okay." Su Yang handed the guard another 100 spirit stones without making a scene. Once they were inside the city, Su Yang went straight to the registration hall with Xiao Rong following closely behind him like a child following her parents. Sometime later, they arrived at the registration hall that was a massive building that took up a couple of blocks. Inside, Su Yang looked for an employee that was not busy, but he quickly realized that all of them were occupied, so he went to the line with the least people. Even then, it took them a few hours of waiting before it was finally their turn. "How may I help you?" the worker, who was a young woman, asked them when they walked up to the desk. "I would like to sell some things in the Stellar Bazaar." "I understand. Which tier would you like to apply for, and how many days? What kind of tiers are there? And what are the differences?" Su Yang asked her, as he has never sold or bought anything at this place before. The only reason he knew about it was because he used to cultivate with a few prominent sellers in this place. "We have 3 tiers, each with their own benefits and restrictions. The first is the bronze tier, which will cost 100 million to 700 million low-grade spirit stones depending on how long you're staying. The bronze tier is the most basic tier, and it will allow you to sell anything as long as your total doesn't exceed 1 million medium-grade spirit stones or 100 high-grade spirit stones. You are only allowed to sell in the outer areas of the bazaar with this permit." Also, the city will take 20% share of your sales. The next tier is the silver tier, which is also our most popular tier. It will cost between 50,000 medium-grade spirit stones to 400,000 medium-grade spirit stones. With this tier, your total sales limit will increase to 5 million medium-grade spirit stones or 500 high-grade spirit stones, and you get to open up your shop in the inner areas. As for the share, the city will only take 5%. The final tier is the gold tier. It will cost you a minimum of 10 high-grade spirit stones, and at most 70 high-grade spirit stones. You can have unlimited sales and the city will not take any shares, and you'll get to sell your treasures in the core area, where the wealthiest usually go. You can also choose how long you want to rent the permit, from 3 days, 15 days to 30 days. After pondering for a moment, Su Yang spoke. "I'd like the gold tier for 3 days. Okay, please give me a moment." The woman walked to the back for a minute before returning with a permit. "Please write your information here and pay 10 high-grade spirit stones." "Sorry, I only have low-grade spirit stones if you don't mind," Su Yang said as he handed her a storage ring containing 1 billion spirit stones. A moment later, the number 1 billion showed up on the scale. "Thank you. I will get your permit right now, Xiao Yang," the young woman said before going to the back again. It took a few minutes this time, and when she eventually returned with a golden medallion, she said, "Although you are allowed to enter the center of the bazaar, you may also open up your business in the other areas if you so wish. As for your location, you may pick whichever spot that isn't already taken. The permit also expires in 72 hours starting now. If you wish to extend your time, you can just come back here and let one of us know. Best of luck to you and your business." "Thank you." Su Yang accepted the medallion with a friendly smile on his face. He then left the building with Xiao Rong and went to the center of the city, and the closer he got, the more people flooded the place. The outer area was the worst, with hundreds of thousands of people crowding the place. The inner area wasn't as bad, but there were still too many people for Su Yang's comfort. Fortunately, there weren't too many people in the center of the bazaar. After all, mostly incredibly expensive treasures are sold in this place. However, despite having the least visitors in this place, the center of the bazaar has earned more money than both the outer and inner areas combined. After finding a place to open up his business, which wasn't too hard to find, Su Yang retrieved a blanket from his storage ring and placed it on the floor. There were 2 different types of liquid on display. One of them was transparent and the other one was pure white. "Master." "That is," Xiao Rong immediately recognized the contents inside these bottles, as they contained her own yin qi and her favorite Su Yang's yang qi. "That's right. I am going to sell your yin qi and my yang qi. Although this may be incredibly weird in the previous world, in this world, it's not uncommon to see people selling such things. And your yin qi is very valuable, whether you believe it or not. Not only are you at the ancient realm, but you're also a virgin, which means your yin essence will be in its purest form. I also mixed in some ingredients, enhancing it." Su Yang said to her chapter 882, Su Yang's business. "As for my yang qi, although they're nowhere as powerful as they used to be, they are still quite valuable. Hopefully, there will be some dual cultivators in this place. If not, I will have to sell Kiyu's treasures, which I will keep as a last resort." Although he could easily obtain enough funds for the teleport if he sold Kiyu's treasures, they were mostly unique treasures unique to the Sacred Moon Palace, and if he sold something like that in the divine heavens, it would undoubtedly raise some eyebrows and attract unwanted attention from the Sacred Moon Palace, something he cannot afford to happen at this moment. As for the other treasures that would have made him a fortune in the previous world, they were near useless in this world. Therefore, he could only resort to selling Xiao Rong's yin qi and his own yang qi, as they were the most valuable things he had at this moment. Once he was satisfied with the display, Su Yang placed a sign beside his store that read, "High-quality Yang Qi for those below the divine realm, and Yin Qi for those below the ancient realm." After setting up his business, Su Yang took out 2 chairs and sat on one of them with the other one for Xiao Rong. Su Yang's business quickly attracted the other sellers there, raising quite a few eyebrows. Although it wasn't uncommon to see people selling Yang Qi or Yin Qi, it wasn't liked either, as people found it weird and distasteful to sell such vulgar items in public. What made things worse was Su Yang's appearance. If it had been a pretty lady selling Yin Qi or a handsome man selling Yang Qi, the people around him would have probably been more accepting. However, Su Yang had the appearance of a fat young master, and it naturally made everything more unbearable to look at, hence the disapproving glances he's getting from the other businesses. If the other businesses weren't forbidden to cause trouble for others, they would have already surrounded Su Yang and forced him to go somewhere else, if not outright kick him out. A few hours have gone by, yet Su Yang's business remained untouched. In fact, nobody even approached his store. After sitting there without moving even a single muscle for the last few hours, Su Yang suddenly opened his eyes and turned to look at a group of people who just entered the bazaar. A smile appeared on his face, and he turned to look at Xiao Rong, who was sitting there with a bored look on her face. "Xiao Rong, are you hungry? Do you want to drink some Yang Qi?" he asked her. Although she was surprised he offered, Xiao Rong didn't refuse, and she quickly nodded her head. Su Yang then picked up one of the bottles from the display that contained his Yang Qi before handing it to her. "Go ahead, but don't drink it too fast or it'll be gone in an instant." Xiao Rong nodded, opening the bottle and putting it on her lips without hesitation before drinking it like milk. When the people around him saw this, they nearly gagged from disgust. How could such a young lady do something so shameless and disgusting in public? Do they have no shame? However, the moment Xiao Rong opened up the bottle of Yang Qi, the group of people that Su Yang was paying attention to suddenly turned to look in their direction before mumbling to each other. There were 6 of them in the group, and they were all very pretty ladies. As for their cultivation, they ranged from the heavenly spirit realm to the divine spirit realm. "Excuse me, can I see one of the bottles with Yang Qi?" one of them asked. "Of course. Pick whichever you want," Su Yang said with a smile on his face. The lady then picked up one of the Yang Qi bottles randomly and opened it. "Wow," they mumbled in a dazed voice after seeing the Yang Qi up close, their faces filled with surprise. "I have never seen such pure and high-quality Yang Qi before. Where did you get this? More specifically, who produces this Yang Qi?" the lady holding the bottle asked him after snapping out of her daze. Su Yang smiled and said, "It was produced by a friend of mine. I am only helping him sell it." One of the ladies there suddenly licked her lips in a lustful manner and said, "Can you tell us where we can find this friend of yours? I'd like to have a little chat with him, if you know what I mean." Su Yang shook his head with an apologetic smile and said, "Unfortunately, I have promised him that I would not disclose his location or identity. If you tell me, I will give you a little action with my mouth. How about it?" she suddenly offered. However, Su Yang didn't say anything and kept the apologetic smile on his face, his answer clear. "Gee, what a stinky fatty, I bet you're a virgin," the lady sneered after being refused. "Calm down, junior sister. I'm sure he has his reasons for not waiting to reveal himself," another lady in the group said, and then she turned to look at Su Yang. "How much for a bottle?" Su Yang raised a finger and said, "1 high-grade spirit stone for 1 bottle, but if you buy 5, I can sell it for 4 high-grade spirit stones." "Why, you want a high-grade spirit stone for this little Yang Qi? That's daylight robbery," one of the ladies quickly exclaimed. "Although the quality is indeed wonderful, there's so little, and it's only effective for cultivators below the divine spirit realm. How can you justify such a high price? It's not worth it." The lady holding the bottle asked him. "Are you sure it's not worth it?" Su Yang said with a profound smile on his round face. Chapter 883, Selling His Yang Qi. What do you mean by that? Are you implying that I cannot tell the value of this Yang Qi? Do you even know who I am? The lady holding the bottle spoke with an unhappy frown on her face. Su Yang looked at her calmly and said, "You're from the glacial fairy manor, and judging from the style and color of your uniform, you hold the position of a sect elder probably for the inner court." The woman was slightly surprised by Su Yang's accurate assessment since their sect was relatively small in the divine heavens with less than 100,000 disciples. Of course, Su Yang knew about them. After all, he'd cultivated with plenty of their sect elders and even their sect master in the past. Since you seem to know us so well, tell me, what am I not understanding? Why is this Yang Qi worth so much money? The sect elder then asked. Su Yang smiled and said, "Give it a taste and you'll understand." "You want me to taste this Yang Qi?" The sect elder asked for confirmation. Su Yang nodded. "Don't worry, I won't charge you for it." The woman turned to look at the bottle of Yang Qi in her hands and swallowed nervously for some reason. "Elder Mu, are you really going to?" one of the ladies there asked. "As much as I hate to admit it, I have never seen such high-quality Yang Qi before, and I am very tempted to buy this." The woman called Elder Mu said as she dipped the tip of her pinky inside the bottle before putting it inside her mouth and sampling the Yang Qi. A moment later, Elder Mu's eyes widened with surprise, and a profound flicker appeared in her eyes. What is this? Why does it contain so much spiritual energy? It's also different from the profound Qi I am used to." Elder Mu looked at Su Yang with a questioning gaze. The smile on Su Yang's round face grew wider, and he said in a calm voice, "Because within that Yang Qi contains celestial Qi, albeit very little." "See celestial Qi." Elder Mu and the others immediately gasped after hearing his words. After all, only divine beings such as the Heavenly Emperor and other gods with a powerful bloodline could possibly have celestial Qi. Does this mean this bottle of Yang Qi came from a divine being? If that was the case, the price of one high-quality spirit stone is definitely worth it. In fact, they'd pay even 5 high-quality spirit stones for a single bottle. No wonder why this individual wanted to keep his identity a secret. He is someone with celestial Qi. The ladies looked at Su Yang with envy, as they were jealous that he knew this mysterious individual. It was completely understandable why someone with celestial Qi would hide his status, as they are usually people with exalted statuses within the divine heavens, and it would be problematic for that individual's status and face if he was found to be selling his Yang Qi in public. Do you mind if I have another taste just to be sure?" Elder Mu asked Su Yang in a trembling voice. "Go ahead." Su Yang nodded. "The rest of the ladies can also have a taste if they wish," he added. The ladies around Elder Mu didn't hesitate to dip their pinkies in the bottle and taste the Yang Qi a moment later. "Elder Mu's right. This Yang Qi is completely different from what I usually experience. Is this really celestial Qi? I cannot really tell since I have never had Yang Qi infused with celestial Qi before. If you have something that can test for celestial Qi, you may go ahead and test it for yourself," Su Yang said to them. Elder Mu pondered with a serious expression. While they have plenty of those back at their sect, one normally wouldn't bring such tools with them, so they have no way of testing the Yang Qi to see whether it truly has celestial Qi or not. However, she didn't want to risk leaving this place without these Yang Qi, since someone else might buy them before she could test the Yang Qi. After thinking for a few minutes, Elder Mu turned to look at her disciples and said, "I am going to buy these Yang Qi. It's too good to pass up if they're really infused with celestial Qi. However, I still have to test them back at the sect, so I will need some of you to stay here and look after him just in case he's a fraud and scammed us. Are you okay with letting my disciples stay here until I come back with the results?" It'll only take 2 days at most. Elder Mu turned to ask Su Yang. I don't mind. I still have 3 days in this place. Su Yang nodded. And before I buy all of your Yang Qi, do they all contain the same Yang Qi? I will test every single bottle, and if I find even a single bottle that doesn't have the same Yang Qi, I will hold you accountable, she said to him. I can assure you that they all came from the same person, he responded with a calm smile. Elder Mu nodded and asked, How many bottles do you have in stock? I will buy them all. I have 70 bottles in total. Elder Mu then counted 70 high-grade spirit stones before handing them to Su Yang. Thank you for your patronage. Su Yang handed 70 bottles of Yang Qi to Elder Mu, who quickly stored them inside her storage pouch. Then I will be right back. Make sure he doesn't go anywhere. If he dares to run, cut his legs. Elder Mu said to her disciples before disappearing from the scene. Meanwhile, the surrounding businesses were dumbfounded that Su Yang had actually managed to earn 70 high-grade spirit stones from selling a few bottles of Yang Qi, even feeling a little bit of jealousy. Chapter 884 Cheng Ziachen. After Elder Mu left the place, Su Yang turned to look at the disciples she'd left behind to look after him so he wouldn't run away and spoke. Do you ladies want a chair? No, thank you. They quickly refused his offer. Su Yang shrugged and proceeded to sit back down and close his eyes, completely ignoring the disciples. A few minutes later, one of them suddenly asked, Does the Yin Qi also contain celestial Qi? While the glacial fairy manor only accepted female disciples and had no need for Yin Qi, she was still curious about its quality. No, it doesn't contain any celestial Qi. However, it was taken from a maiden who's an ancient sovereign, and she's even a ghost cat. Su Yang said, deliberately not saying phantom cat, even though it would surely attract more attention. What? Yin Qi from a ghost cat who still has her pure yin essence intact, and she's even an ancient sovereign. The ladies there expressed even more shock than before about the Yang Qi containing celestial Qi. Ghost cats are incredibly rare magical beasts that roam the 4 divine heavens, and their incredible speed and undetectable aura make it near impossible to see them, much less catch them and extract their Yin Qi. In terms of value, Xiao Rong's Yin Qi is definitely more valuable than even Su Yang's Yang Qi at this moment, and by a large margin at that. Suddenly, someone in the distance that had overheard Su Yang's words approached the store and said, Can you prove that it belongs to a ghost cat? The Yin Qi you're selling. Su Yang turned to look at this middle-aged man who didn't look like a dual cultivator. He then smiled and said, Because of its rarity, only those who have experienced ghost cat Yin Qi before would be able to tell the difference. Unfortunately, this means I have no real methods to prove that it belongs to a ghost cat, so you'll have to take my word for it. The middle-aged man didn't immediately curse Su Yang because what he said was right and logical. Unless someone has experienced ghost cat Yin Qi before, they wouldn't be able to tell whether it's real or not. If someone inexperienced were to sample Xiao Rong's Yin Qi right now, they'd only be able to tell that it's extremely high quality, but that would be the extent of their evaluation. After a moment of silence, the middle-aged man spoke again. How much do you want for one of these bottles? 100 high-quality spirit stones each, Su Yang responded in a calm voice. 100. The glacial fairy manor disciples were shocked after hearing the price that was 100 times more expensive than the Yang Qi. The middle-aged man frowned and said, If you could prove that they indeed belong to a ghost cat, I'd be more than willing to buy it, but alas, you have no proof. The middle-aged man then turned around and walked away. Su Yang didn't say anything and allowed the middle-aged man to leave without trying to persuade him. After all, he never really expected Xiao Rong's Yin Qi to sell so easily. Furthermore, he already had enough spirit stones to use the teleport, and he was just keeping the store open just in case. Someone actually wants to buy Xiao Rong's yin qi. In the world of dual cultivation, men's yang qi is sold more than females' yin qi because most men prefer to obtain their yin qi in the act, whilst many female dual cultivators in the divine heavens are picky with their partner. Not to mention the ones that want to cultivate like dual cultivators without sacrificing their body, so they buy yang qi to improve their cultivation instead. In other words, male dual cultivators don't care if they have to sacrifice their body for dual cultivation since they enjoy sticking their sword inside women and consider it as an honor, so they usually don't buy yin qi. Some even consider buying yin qi a disgrace since that usually meant they were unable to find any partners and had to resort to buying yin qi. Meanwhile, for the female dual cultivators, if they can dual cultivate without sacrificing or dirtying their body, they do so in a heartbeat, and only females that truly enjoy having sex would become real dual cultivators. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 2 days have passed since Su Yang opened up his shop. Near the end of the second day, Elder Mu returned to his shop with a blissful look on her face, and she'd even brought a new face with her. "Is this where you bought the yang qi?" This newcomer asked Elder Mu. "That is correct, Sect Master." Elder Mu responded in a respectful manner. Su Yang raised his eyebrows when he saw this beautiful woman that could easily rival even the top beauties in the previous world as he recognized her face. "So you're still the Sect Master, huh?" Su Yang mumbled in a low and nostalgic voice. "Excuse me." The woman turned to look at Su Yang with a puzzled look on her face. "I mean you must be the Sect Master of the Glacial Fairy Manor, Cheng Xiaochen, right?" "That's right," she nodded, completely unaware of who she was looking at. "You're the one who sold these yang qi, right?" Cheng Xiaochen showed him one of the bottles Elder Mu had purchased from his store. "Indeed," he said. "I have tested the yang qi, and they all indeed contain a hint of celestial qi. I know you have already sold out, but do you think I can pre-order more? We'll even pay double the price for each bottle." Cheng Xiaochen proposed. "Thank you for the offer. Unfortunately, I don't know when I will receive more stock from that person, so I will have to decline your offer. I'm sorry, even though you came all the way here." Su Yang said to her. "I see. Well, it was worth a try. Anyways, if you somehow get your hands on more of them, come to my Glacial Fairy Manor. We'll not only buy your entire stock, but we'll even slip in some bonus service for you." Cheng Xiaochen said to him, Chapter 885, "Some things never change. I will definitely keep that in mind." Su Yang said after hearing Cheng Xiaochen's offer. Sometime later, Cheng Xiaochen left with Elder Mu and the other disciples. Once they left the place, Su Yang sighed. "It was really nice seeing you again, Cheng Xiaochen." Even though he knew that he had returned to the 4 divine heavens, it still felt somewhat surreal to him. However, after seeing Cheng Xiaochen, an old friend, Su Yang felt more relieved, as her existence confirmed that he had indeed made it back home. Su Yang and Xiao Rong continued to sit around for another day until their time at the bazaar were up, but alas, Xiao Rong's yin qi remained unsold, as it was too precious and rare. "Even though we couldn't sell her yin qi, at least we have enough funds to use the teleport now," Su Yang thought to himself. Sometime later, Su Yang returned to the registration hall to hand in their medallion. "Thank you. If you don't mind, can you share with us what you've managed to sell and how much you earned? This is only for statistical purposes. You don't have to tell us if you don't want to," said the receptionist. "I don't mind. I sold 70 bottles of yang qi for 70 high-grade spirit stones," Su Yang said to her. "Why yang qi?" The receptionist raised her eyebrows. Although it's not the weirdest thing sold before in their place, it was definitely shocking how much he earned from it. "Thank you for the information. If you ever wish to return, our stellar bazaar will always be open for you," the receptionist said to him. Su Yang and Xiao Rong left the building, and then the city shortly after. Once they were outside, Su Yang took Xiao Rong into the air with the flying treasure and began making their way to the Red Wind City for their teleport formation. However, a few minutes into their journey, Xiao Rong's eyebrows twitched when she noticed a presence following them from a distance. "Master, we're being followed," she said to him. "Interesting, who is it?" he asked. "It's that man who asked about the yin qi," she said. "That divine origin realm middle-aged man, huh? Just pretend you don't notice him. If he does anything funny, kill him, but don't make a scene when you're doing it," Su Yang said to her. Xiao Rong nodded. Thus they continued their journey whilst ignoring the man who was following them. A few hours later, the middle-aged man suddenly decided to stop hiding and appeared before them. "Hm, did you change your mind and decide to buy the yin qi in the end?" Su Yang asked him, acting ignorantly. The middle-aged man laughed at Su Yang's words before speaking in a cold voice. "Yes, I have changed my mind. I will be taking those yin qi off your hands now. However, I won't be paying you for them." Su Yang acted surprised and said, "What? They're not for free. If you want them, you'll have to pay for them. 1,000 high-grade spirit stones each." 1,000? You said it was only for 100 high-grade spirit stones, the middle-aged man quickly said. Did I say that? Sorry, I forgot." Su Yang shrugged and he continued, "I have bad memories after all." "Enough yapping. Hurry up and give me those bottles unless you want a painful death," the middle-aged man shouted at him. However, Su Yang remained calm and said, "You don't seem like a dual cultivator. Why do you need my yin qi?" "HMPH. Since you're going to die anyway, I don't mind telling you. I need them because—" The middle-aged man suddenly stopped midway through his speech and disappeared from his spot, appearing in front of Su Yang with a sword in his grasp and ready to separate Su Yang's head from his body. "Die for me, you damn pig." However, before the middle-aged man's sword could travel an inch, Xiao Rong's eyes flickered with killing intent. Cough. The middle-aged man suddenly stopped moving and coughed up a mouthful of blood, his face with a look of disbelief. It happened in an instant, but the middle-aged man felt his heart being crushed by an invisible force before he died. "Haya." Su Yang sighed in a calm manner. "The moment I saw your greedy eyes back at the bazaar, I knew you would do something stupid. Even though 2,000 years have passed, there are things that will never change, and that is human nature." After the middle-aged man's lifeless body landed on the ground, Su Yang went down and searched his corpse, retrieving whatever valuables he had on his body. "Just 10 high-grade spirit stones and a heaven-grade sword. You're more broke than I'd anticipated." Su Yang shook his head, taking only the spirit stones and the sword before leaving everything else behind. "The beasts in the area will eventually find the man's corpse and eat it, so there was no need for him to do anything about it." Su Yang returned to the flying boat and continued their journey shortly after. "Here you go, Xiao Rong. I saved a few just for you," Su Yang said as he retrieved a bottle of his yang qi that had supposedly been sold out. "Thank you, master." Xiao Rong accepted the bottle and immediately began drinking the contents. And even though she drank it as slow as she could, the bottle became empty moments later. A few days later, they arrived at the Red Wind City, and they could already see the massive teleport formation even before entering the city from the skies. After descending to the ground, Su Yang said to Xiao Rong before approaching the city, "Go inside my dantian for now. If we go like this, it'll cost twice as much since we're 2 people." Xiao Rong nodded and went inside his dantian. Some more hours later, he arrived at the scene, and it was a spacious area with a large stage in the middle of the city. On the stage was a complicated formation, as well as a massive mirror made of jade with its center empty. "It's been a while since I have seen one of these," Su Yang mumbled with a smile on his face. Chapter 886 Tranquil Spirit Valley. After arriving at the teleport formation in the Red Wind City, Su Yang had to wait for a couple of hours in line before it was their turn. Once it was his turn, Su Yang approached the stage, where an old man was working. "Put your hands on the crystal ball over there. If you're a wanted criminal, we won't be able to let you use the teleporter," the old man said to him. Su Yang nodded and approached the large crystal ball beside the old man, feeling a little nervous inside. A few moments later, the crystal ball shone a white light. "All right, you're clean. Where would you like to go?" the old man asked him after confirming that he was not a wanted criminal. "The Qiang province, Tranquil Bamboo City," Su Yang said. The old man nodded and did some calculations before speaking. That would be 40 high-grade spirit stones. Once Su Yang handed over the money and the old man counted the exact amount, he said to Su Yang, "Stand before the teleporter. Once I activate the teleport formation, you'll have 10 seconds to enter the portal before it deactivates." A few moments later, the empty space in the center of the jade mirror began twisting and turning until there was a dark portal there. "It's open now," the old man said. Su Yang wasted no time and immediately jumped into the portal, disappearing from the Red Wind City. After entering the portal, Su Yang was greeted by the wormhole scenery again. Of course, it didn't take him weeks to reach the other side this time around, only a couple of minutes. After exiting the wormhole, Su Yang found himself walking outside the portal in the Tranquil Bamboo City. Tranquil Bamboo City, it's still the same as always. Su Yang mumbled as he looked around with a nostalgic expression on his face. "Hey, fatty, get off the platform. We have places to be," someone in the crowd suddenly shouted. Su Yang then snapped out of his daze and walked off the stage in a calm manner despite the glares he was getting from the people there. Once he left the platform, Su Yang proceeded to make his way outside the city, but he wasn't in a hurry, and he even made weird turns that would make his trip twice as long. It was obvious that Su Yang had some sort of sentimental feeling for this place. After taking a few hours just to get out of the city, Su Yang retrieved his flying boat and left the place. Xiao Rong came out of his dantian shortly after they left the city. "Where are we going now, master?" she asked him after a few days of traveling. "To where I was born, my home," Su Yang said in a calm voice. After a few more days of traveling and passing by countless mountains, Su Yang descended the flying boat in front of this small city. In fact, the place was more of a village than a city. However, Su Yang didn't enter the city. He merely stood in front of it and glared at it without moving for many minutes before he turned around and walked towards the wilderness. Xiao Rong didn't say anything and followed him. A couple more hours later, Su Yang finally stopped moving as they arrived at this large cabin in the middle of nowhere. "Xiao Rong, don't move around carelessly. There are countless traps in this place that could easily kill the two of us if activated," Su Yang said to her. Xiao Rong nodded her head. Although she couldn't tell where the traps were located, she felt an obnoxious feeling from this place that kept her legs frozen. Su Yang then proceeded to stand there and silently stare at the place again. After many minutes of silence, he spoke. "I don't see the formations in this place tampered with, so we should be fine. Follow my exact movements." Xiao Rong nodded and followed closely behind him. Su Yang approached the cabin, walking in a weird pattern instead of just walking straight to the cabin. Xiao Rong followed his every movement until they reached the doorstep that took longer than one would have expected. Once they reached the doors, Su Yang made some symbols with his hands before tapping the door. A formation that had been hidden suddenly appeared, and Su Yang took almost half an hour to deactivate this formation. Even though he was the one who'd created it, it required a lot of effort and almost all of his spiritual energy to deactivate it temporarily. "Let's go. We don't have much time inside before the formation reactivates. If that happens, both of us are screwed," Su Yang said as he entered the building. Even though thousands of years have passed since he last visited this place, the inside remained completely clean without even a speck of dust in sight. "I'm home," Su Yang mumbled in a low voice after his entrance. After entering the building, Su Yang walked straight to the bedroom, where a medium-sized bed with only enough room for two existed. He then walked to the center of the room and lowered his body until his knees were touching the cold floor. After taking a deep breath, Su Yang suddenly retrieved a sword and stabbed it into the floor before removing some of it. Once enough was removed, Su Yang reached his hands inside and retrieved a black pouch. The instant he had this black pouch in his grasp, Su Yang immediately felt safer in this chaotic world. "Okay, we can leave now," Su Yang said to Xiao Rong after quickly fixing the floor. Su Yang then left the place with Xiao Rong without even looking inside the black pouch. As they walked away from the cabin, Su Yang said in a calm voice, "This place is called the Tranquil Spirit Valley. I lived here for a good 100 years until my first wife passed, and that cabin was created by the two of us a few years after our marriage." Su Yang introduced the place and some of his histories with it to Xiao Rong. Chapter 887 Statue. This is the tranquil bamboo city, and it is also where I first met my wife. Things have changed drastically since then, but this place used to be at war with the neighboring cities, and my wife was a general for this city, Su Yang said as he stood before the city walls. "Who was your first wife, master?" Xiao Rong asked him. "Her name was Meiki, and after our marriage she took my surname, becoming Su Meiki," he said. Meiki was a powerful general who fought in the front lines. Her bravery knew no limits, not to mention her beauty. Unfortunately, she was only fated to reach the heavenly spirit realm, so she passed from old age. That's when I left this place to explore the world. Tranquil Bamboo City, it's been a few thousand years since I've been to this place. An overwhelming feeling surged from a place in Su Yang's heart that he'd kept sealed for thousands of years. If he was even slightly less experienced with controlling his emotions at this moment, he would have probably shed a few tears by now. "Let's go, Xiao Rong. I will give you a tour around this place before we continue our journey, since this is a rare opportunity and I don't know when we'll return to this place," Su Yang said to her. Xiao Rong nodded and followed closely behind Su Yang as they approached the city entrance. "Are you here to visit or stay, personal or business?" the guard asked them when they got close to the entrance. "Visit, personal," Su Yang said. "That would be 50 low-grade spirit stones for each person," the guard then said. Su Yang quickly handed 100 low-grade spirit stones to the guard. Once he'd counted the spirit stones, the guard handed Su Yang and Xiao Rong a copper token. "You have 7 days inside. That token will break once your time is up, and if you're caught without a token inside the city, you will be fined heavily. If you still decide to stay after that, you will be looking at a few years of imprisonment. Do you have any questions for me?" "No," Su Yang said. "They will be gone long before the token even expires. This place has changed a lot since I left. It wouldn't have cost even a single spirit stone to enter this city before, yet it costs 50 now, and we only get to stay for 7 days. Either it's inflation or something happened to this city," Su Yang said to Xiao Rong after they entered the city. Unbeknownst to Su Yang, the reason for the hike in prices was because of him, as it was widespread knowledge that Su Yang grew up in this city, and after his death, many people flocked to this place, treating it like some sort of tourist site, hence the increased price. Although thousands of years have passed since I last visited this place, I still remember every street and building like it's on the back of my hands. A gentle smile appeared on Su Yang's face as he wandered the city with Xiao Rong, even giving her some backstory to some of the buildings. "You see that building over there? It used to be a dumpling shop back when I still lived here. It was one of the cheapest places in this place, yet the food was on par with even the luxurious restaurants. I remember coming here often when I was still in training. Unfortunately, they closed down after the owner was killed during a robbery. I personally pursued the killer until I had his head in my grasp, and that took me a couple of weeks. I miss that old man's soup dumplings even now. That building over there used to sell weapons, and even some cultivation techniques. It's where I learned my first sword technique, which was also the same technique I used to defeat Maki and conquer her heart. As for that building there, the one with the red sign, it used to be a small training dojo. I had spent countless hours honing my sword mastery there. The place still stood even after Maki passed away, but unfortunately, shortly after I left the city, the master of the dojo had offended an expert who tore the entire place down the next day. Oh, that building over there. Su Yang spoke about many things in a manner that Xiao Rong has never seen before, and it gave a weird feeling in her heart that she doesn't fully understand, but it was not an uncomfortable feeling. Su Yang also talked more than he normally would, and he would go on to talk non-stop as they spent almost an entire day touring the city, almost like he was reciting an extremely long script. Once they reached the center of the city, Su Yang finally stopped talking, but it was not because he'd run out of things to talk about. Instead, the reason he stopped talking was because he was taken by surprise by something he saw there. Master, is that? Xiao Rong looked at this thing with raised eyebrows, as there was a massive statue of an exceedingly handsome man with a sword in his right hand, and he was also in a heroic pose. Since when did they make that? It was certainly not their right before I left the city. Su Yang mumbled with a dumbfounded expression on his face as he stared at the statue that was clearly himself standing majestically in the middle of the city that he grew up in. Papa, who is that statue? A young kid standing beside Su Yang suddenly asked his father. That is Su Yang. He's an immortal who grew up in this city, said the kid's father. Wow, a true immortal. I also want to be like him, the kid said. I wouldn't pick him as a role model, the father suddenly said. Huh, why not? The kid tilted his head in a puzzled manner. While we cannot deny that he has countless achievements and was definitely beloved by countless people, he was also the most hated man in the four divine heavens. With every person that adores him, 2 or more people would hate him. But he has a statue, right? Only beloved people would have a statue. Why do people hate him? Let's just say he loved to steal things from people, the father said with a bittersweet smile. Chapter 888, what are you looking at? After lingering around his own statue for a few minutes, Su Yang turned around and prepared to leave. Let's go, Xiao Rong, Su Yang said to her. However, just as they prepared to leave, a figure suddenly descended from the heavens and approached the city. When Su Yang felt this unfathomable pressure suddenly appear, he quickly turned around and said, Xiao Rong, get on your knees and lower your head. Don't look up until I tell you to do so. Su Yang followed his own advice and got on one of his knees and lowered his head as though he was greeting someone important. Xiao Rong followed Su Yang's movements and kneeled beside him. When the other people saw what Su Yang was doing, they raised their eyebrows in a puzzled manner. A moment later, loud noises that sounded like war drums suddenly resounded throughout the city. When the people inside the city heard this signal, they all followed Su Yang by taking a knee and lowering their heads. Quickly, get on your knees. An immortal is coming, the child's father said to him. The young boy nodded and followed his father and got on his knees. A few moments after everyone kneeled on the floor, a figure entered the city and flew straight towards the center. This figure then stopped and hovered directly in front of the statue for many minutes without moving. 2,000 years. I waited for you for 2,000 years just to find out that you died. Are you kidding me, Su Yang? This figure suddenly mumbled in a low voice. When Su Yang heard this voice, he subconsciously lifted his head to look at the figure in the sky despite knowing the risks. Su Yang's eyes widened when he saw the peerless beauty hovering only a few meters in front of his statue, and memories began flowing into his head like a sudden gush of water. And the moment Su Yang lifted his head to glance at the beauty, she turned to look at him with a frown on her face. She then extended her hand and did a beckoning motion with her finger. The next second, Su Yang's body began lifting off the ground and flew towards the beautiful lady. "Don't move, Xiao Rong." Su Yang commanded her through divine sense right as she prepared to protect him. "What are you looking at, fatty?" the beautiful lady asked him in a cold voice that sent shivers down his spine, including the other people in that area. Su Yang could feel his back soaked in cold sweats after hearing her voice. Whatever he says next will determine whether he lives or dies. Of course, Su Yang didn't hesitate and opened his mouth. "I apologize, immortal fairy." My head subconsciously lifted when I heard the sorrow in your voice, as it sounded like my mother during my father's funeral, who also passed away from grief shortly after. Su Yang responded with an apologetic smile on his face. The beautiful lady's eyebrows twitched after hearing his unexpected words, and the anger in her heart subdued slightly. HMPH. After a moment of silence, the beautiful lady coldly snorted before waving her sleeves, sending Su Yang back to the ground without harming him. Then she turned around and flew away without saying anything else. Su Yang watched her disappear with a regretful glint in his eyes. As much as he wanted to tell that beautiful woman that he was alive, he couldn't muster the will to do so and allowed her to slip away. Once the immortal fairy had completely disappeared from the place, the people there finally started lifting their heads and returning to their feet. However, they immediately turned to look at Su Yang with unpleasant, even angry expressions on their faces. "You fucking fatty, what's your deal? You nearly got us all killed just now because you couldn't control yourself." One of them cursed at him. "Don't you know that you're not supposed to look at immortals without permission? You could have killed all of us." Everyone there began cursing at Su Yang angrily, but Su Yang didn't blame them, as it was truly his fault just now. "Xiao Rong, let's go." Su Yang didn't linger in that place and quickly left with her. Once they left the area, Xiao Rong asked him, "Master, why can't we look at the immortals?" "Because there's a chance that you might offend one just by looking at them wrongly, and immortals are so powerful that they can erase an entire city as easy as breathing." There have been many situations where a mortal accidentally offends an immortal, resulting in many innocent lives. In fact, it has happened so many times that it has become an unspoken rule that you cannot look at immortals without their permission. Eventually, this unspoken rule became so common that it turned to logic. So whenever there's an immortal, everyone would stop moving and lower their head so that they cannot accidentally offend one. Su Yang explained the situation to Xiao Rong. Of course, this rule only applies to mortals who are outside. You don't have to follow such a rule if you're inside a sect or some private property owned by another immortal. "I see," Xiao Rong mumbled in a low voice. "Welcome to the four divine heavens, Xiao Rong," Su Yang said to her with a smile on his face. "You'll get used to it soon. Anyways, I have one more place to go in this city before we can leave." Sometime later, Su Yang led Xiao Rong to a large building somewhere in the city. "So this place still stands even after 2,000 years, huh?" Su Yang mumbled. "Where are we?" Xiao Rong asked. "This is where I used to live with Meiki before we built the cabin outside the city," he said. Chapter 889, Descendant, where Master used to live. Xiao Rong turned to look at the large building that would qualify as a mansion before them. Since Meiki was a greatly respected individual, not to mention her contribution to the city as a general, she was given this large mansion to live in after she retired from the military, and that's where she and Su Yang lived for half of their marriage before moving to the cabin outside the city. "I can sense people in there. Let's see who's living here at this moment." Su Yang approached the door after standing there for a few minutes. After knocking on the door, Su Yang waited for a few moments before someone opened the door. "How may I help you?" An old man that appeared to be a servant greeted them at the door. "If you don't mind me asking, who is currently living here?" Su Yang asked him. The old man raised his eyebrows at Su Yang's sudden and suspicious question, and then he said, "That would be the Jiang family. Is there anything we can do to help you? Who are you?" Su Yang showed a bright smile on his chubby face and said, "My name is Xiao Yang, and I would like to purchase this building from you." The old man looked at him as though he was crazy before speaking. "I'm sorry, but this place is not for sale." Just as the old man tried to close the door on him, Su Yang placed his foot at the crack, keeping the door from closing, and he said, "Let's not get ahead of ourselves and come to a conclusion without the rest of the family." The old man frowned and said, "I may only be a servant, but I am the most trusted servant in the entire family. I have worked with the Jiang family for over 100 years. I think I know them better than you." Su Yang. Su Yang suddenly blurted out his name, dumbfounding the old man. "I am a descendant of Su Yang, and I am here to reclaim his property. This place is owned by my ancestor, and according to my knowledge, he didn't sell this place." "You may not have known this before, but now you do," Su Yang said with a smile on his face. "Ooh," the old man was speechless. "Gee, give me a moment, I will be right back." It was obvious that the old man was going to speak with the Jiang family, so Su Yang didn't stop him from leaving. Inside the building, the Jiang family was filled with surprise after learning the situation from the old man. "Su Yang's descendant has come to reclaim his property. How is that possible?" "I thought Su Yang didn't have any descendants," the head of the Jiang family exclaimed. "I am also doubting his identity, Master Jiang. It is common knowledge that Su Yang was one of the most handsome men under the heavens, yet that fatty looked nothing like Su Yang. I highly doubt one of Su Yang's descendants would look so unpleasant to the eyes," the old man said. The head of the Jiang family laughed and said, "You know what? He may be a fake, but I want some entertainment. Let him in. I want to see how he's going to make a fool out of himself." The old man nodded before going back outside to let Su Yang inside. "The master would like to speak with you inside," the old man said to Su Yang outside. Sometime later, Su Yang and Xiao Rong followed the old man to the room where the Jiang family was waiting. The Jiang family nearly burst out laughing when they saw Su Yang's round appearance, and they were convinced that he was a fake and was only using Su Yang's name to obtain their property. "Xiao Yang, right? Please take a seat." The head of the Jiang family pointed to the chairs across from him. Once they were seated, he continued, "I'm Jiang Chen, head of the Jiang family. I was told that you were Su Yang's descendant and would like to reclaim this property. Do you have any proof that you're Su Yang's descendant?" "Proof? Huh?" Su Yang closed his eyes to ponder. "While I do not have any solid proof, I heard from my mother that there is a secret in this building that only Su Yang and his family would know," he said a moment later. What a secret? What kind of secret?" The Jiang family was surprised to hear this since they'd searched the entire building countless times throughout the years without finding anything. "I don't know. I wasn't told any details." Su Yang shrugged. Then he continued, "How about it? If I can find this treasure, would it be enough to prove that I am indeed Su Yang's descendant?" The Jiang family looked at each other with perplexed looks on their faces. "Even if you can find the treasure, that doesn't prove anything," Jiang Chen eventually said. "If you don't have any actual evidence, I will have to ask you to leave." As of this moment, Jiang Chen couldn't care less whether the fatty before him was Su Yang's descendant or not, since there was a good chance that a treasure was hidden in this place, and a treasure belonging to Su Yang would most certainly be priceless. "I see. What a pity. Looks like I will have to let my mother know that I've failed." Su Yang sighed as he stood up. "Wait a moment, your mother. Who is your mother?" Jiang Chen suddenly stopped him and asked. And without any hesitation, Su Yang blurted out a random name. Of course, this person who is supposed to be his mother was an immortal and also a woman who he'd cultivated within the past. When the Jiang family heard this name, their complexions immediately paled. I am possible. She had a child with Su Yang. How come nobody has heard about this? Jiang Chen was in disbelief. Thank you for listening to the story on KevinAudio.com Chapter 890 Qiang City B. Bullshit. There's no way you're her son. Show me some proof. Jiang Chen was reluctant to believe Su Yang. Su Yang nodded and said, "Very well. Then let me tell you about what my mother does on a daily basis and how some secrets about her sect that only she would know." He then proceeded to talk about his mother and made everything sound incredibly realistic and believable. Furthermore, the way Su Yang talked without stopping or stuttering made everything even more believable, as a liar wouldn't be able to speak so casually and confidently. As for why nobody knows about my existence, look at me. If you were my mother, would you dare to openly brag about having a pig like me? My mother is a goddess with countless admirers, but look at me. I am the complete opposite. Su Yang sighed. The Jiang family was speechless by the time Su Yang was finished with his bullshit. Aya. Forget it. I will just tell my mother to come here instead, since you guys clearly don't believe a word I say. If I was a little bit more handsome, perhaps things would be different. Wait, Jiang Chen stopped him. Why does your mother want this place? Is it because of the treasure in this place? I don't know exactly why she wants this place, but my mother has been grieving ever since Su Yang's death, so maybe that has something to do with it. Su Yang shrugged. Then he continued, you know what? In order to compensate for your losses, I will give you these high-grade spirit stones. Su Yang then placed 20 high-grade spirit stones on the table. The Jiang family was immediately dumbfounded by Su Yang's wasteful spending. Even if this house used to belong to Su Yang in the past, it was definitely not worth 20 high-grade spirit stones. With 20 high-grade spirit stones, they can move to an even bigger house and spend the rest of their lives there luxuriously. Of course, that is if they didn't include the treasure in this place. With that being said, if this unknown fatty is truly who he claims to be, it was definitely not worth offending his mother, no matter what kind of treasure could be in this place. In the end, it was only a house with some unknown treasure. If they refused to leave and die as a result, it wouldn't matter what treasure was in this place, as dead people cannot use treasures. After pondering for a few minutes, Jiang Chen grabbed the 20 high-grade spirit stones on the table and said, "Okay, this building is yours. Give us a few days to pack and leave." Su Yang nodded with a calm smile on his face. Sometime later, Jiang Chen handed Su Yang the keys to the house before Su Yang and Xiao Rong left the place. "Master, is there really a treasure in that place? I couldn't sense any treasure," Xiao Rong said to him after they left. "Ah, that was something I made up. Even though it could have backfired, it was worth a try, and it doesn't really matter if they were willing to leave or not, since I have no use for that place. There's really nothing special about the building besides the sentimental feelings I have for it. As for being Su Yang's descendant, let's go with that from now on," Su Yang said with a smile on his face. Xiao Rong nodded. Su Yang and Xiao Rong proceeded to spend a few days in a nearby hotel. They also renewed their tokens for another month while they waited. A few days later, they returned to the building, and sure enough, the Jiang family were no longer there, leaving the house completely empty. I don't know how they were able to occupy this house in the first place, but I'm glad it's back in my possession again. Su Yang looked around the building before cleaning the place up. Xiao Rong, let's spend a few days here before we leave. Xiao Rong nodded. Thus, the two of them spent a few more days in the house. A week later, Su Yang and Xiao Rong left the house before leaving the city. "Where are we going to go now, Master?" "We're going to go get some information. Although 2,000 years isn't very long in the grand scheme of things, many things can change in such a short time, and the best place to obtain information would be the information brokers. Most of them are incredibly knowledgeable, with some of them even knowing secrets that even most immortals are unaware of. Once I have information on some things, I will see where we should go from there." Zio Rong nodded as she entered the flying boat with him. When it comes to finding information brokers, the best place would be the Tower of Intelligence at Kiang Province's capital city, Kiang City. In the Tower of Intelligence, you can find information about almost everything. Trying to look for a certain treasure, they will know the exact location. Looking for a specific technique, they will tell you where to go to obtain one. A missing person, they will find that person in less than a week. The brokers have connections around the four divine heavens and are not to be trifled with. This is going to take at least a week, so make yourself comfortable, Su Yang said to Zio Rong. During the next couple of days, Su Yang and Zio Rong would encounter multiple cultivators on their own flying treasures on their journey to Kiang City. It was such a weird feeling at first to see other flying treasures for Su Yang, since he had gotten used to dominating the sky alone. And the closer they got to Kiang City, the more cultivators they would encounter. Exactly a week later, Su Yang and Zio Rong arrived at Kiang City, where a massive tower could be seen piercing the heavens from inside the city, even from hundreds of miles away. Chapter 891, Tower of Intelligence. Master, is that the Tower of Intelligence? Zio Rong asked him out of curiosity after seeing the domineering tower, as this is her first time seeing something like this before. Yes, that is the Tower of Intelligence. What do you think? Pretty cool, right? Su Yang said. Zio Rong nodded. I think so. Although it's called the Tower of Intelligence, there are actually way more to that place than just the information brokers. Auction houses, marketplaces, bazaars, restaurants, weapon stores, it's everything in a single place, Su Yang said to her. Sometime later, they descended from the sky and got off the flying boat. After paying the entrance fees to the city, Su Yang and Zio Rong made their way straight towards the heaven-piercing tower in the middle of the city. A couple of hours later, they arrived at the bottom of the tower, where hundreds of people were either entering or leaving the tower, and it was like an endless stream of people. Su Yang and Zio Rong went to the left side of the tower, where the people were entering the tower from. Once they were inside on the first floor, Su Yang said to Zio Rong, "It's easy to get separated in this place, so follow me closely." Zio Rong nodded and closed their distance until she was essentially hugging his body. Inside the Tower of Intelligence, a single floor was as big as a small city in the eastern continent, and there were a grand total of 99 floors in the tower. Fortunately for them, the information brokers they were looking for could be found from the first floor to the 10th floor. There were plenty of information brokers available on the first floor, thousands of them in fact. However, Su Yang completely ignored these information brokers and walked right past them, walking straight to the portal that led them to the second floor. "Master, why did you ignore the information brokers from before? I thought you were looking for them," Zio Rong asked him. Su Yang smiled and said, "Anyone can become an information broker here. It's important that we pick someone competent and reliable for the information. And I am not discrediting the information brokers from before. I simply don't know them enough to trust their information. The person we're going to has been working as an information broker for 50,000 years, and she is incredibly reputable with many connections around the world. Hopefully, she is still working in this place, as she has always been my go-to person whenever it comes to getting information." Su Yang led Zio Rong all the way to the 6th floor, and he proceeded to look for a certain store. After walking around the 6th floor for a couple of minutes, Su Yang stopped in front of a certain store. However, he didn't immediately go inside as there were too many people standing outside. Seeing this cue, Su Yang was relieved, as this meant that the person he was looking for hasn't left. Thus, they began waiting in line in front of this small store that had no sign or anything to advertise the place. There were about a dozen people in the line, but the people were entering and leaving the store every few minutes, so it didn't take long before it was Su Yang's turn. Inside the store was a single dimly lit room with 2 chairs and a table. Of course, one of these chairs had already been occupied by a figure wearing dark robes that covered her figure and face. Su Yang sat on the chair across from this figure and proceeded to stare at this figure in silence. "What kind of information are you looking for?" The figure suddenly spoke in a beautiful voice that was very pleasant sounding to the ears. After a moment of silence, Su Yang spoke. "I want to know about the Su family." The figure visibly trembled after hearing Su Yang's request, and she even lifted her head a little to look at him under her hood. "Who are you? Why are you asking about the Su family?" she asked him. Su Yang smiled and said in a calm voice, "I thought information brokers aren't supposed to ask their clients about their identity or why they want their information." After a moment of silence, she said, "Due to the unprecedented situation with the Su family, I cannot disclose any information about them until I confirm your identity and your purpose, and even then, I may not be able to tell you anything." "Unprecedented situation?" Su Yang asked. She nodded her head and said, "Under the Heavenly Emperor's order, nobody is allowed to bother the Su family, especially after that fiasco that resulted in the downfall of one of the 10 families." "Oh, right, Lingxi told me about it." Su Yang recalled his conversation with Tang Lingxi before arriving in this world. After taking a deep breath, Su Yang said, "I am a descendant of Su Yang, Zio Yang." The information broker nearly fell off her chair after hearing his words. "Why, you're Su Yang's descendant, and you want me to believe you when you look nothing like Su Yang," she said to him. "I know it's hard to believe, but I gain nothing from lying. Furthermore, I can also give you some information about Su Yang in return." The information broker didn't immediately respond. After pondering for a few moments, she said, "Not taking your appearance into consideration, I know very well that Su Yang doesn't have any children because he would always refuse to have children even with his own family. And if he really had children, there's no way I wouldn't know about it. If you want to fool me, you'll have to do better than that, Chubby." And she continued in a confident voice, "As for your information about Su Yang, if you really know something about Su Yang that I don't, I will tell you about the Su family." Chapter 892, Soul Validity Scroll. Hearing the information broker's confident voice, Su Yang spoke. "Are you sure about that?" She nodded and said, "Of course. If you really know something about Su Yang that I didn't already know, I will tell you what I know about the Su family." As one of the best information brokers in the celestial heaven, and also an admirer of Su Yang, it was only natural for her to gather as much information as she could on Su Yang. In the entire 4 divine heavens, this information broker knew the most about Su Yang. In fact, she knows more about Su Yang than even his own family knows about him, after spending thousands of years gathering his information. Hence why she was so confident that nobody would be able to beat her in this aspect. Of course, Su Yang knew this already. He knew that she had a lot of information about him. He was even aware that she'd been collecting information about him. However, no matter how much information she gathered on him, she would never know more about him than himself. "How do I know that you're telling the truth? After all, you can simply say that you already know the information even if you really don't," Su Yang suddenly said to her. The information broker remained calm and said, "That is indeed true. However, I can say the same to you. How do I know that whatever information you're going to give me is real? After all, you can make up anything and claim it's real." And she continued, "I have worked as an information broker for over 10,000 years with countless customers, yet I do not have a single dissatisfied customer, nor have I ever given false information. My reputation within the celestial heaven is unshakable. I have countless connections across all 4 divine heavens. However, what about you? You're just a nobody as far as I'm aware, fatty." Hearing the information broker's sharp words, a mysterious smile appeared on Su Yang's round face. Well said. Then how about we do this using a soul validity scroll? Su Yang suddenly suggested. A soul validity scroll? Are you serious? The information broker was surprised that he would dare to suggest something like that. Of course, she wasn't worried about it affecting her since she has no reason to lie, but for Su Yang, who's a nobody, to resort to a soul validity scroll meant that he was also confident in himself. Do I look like I am joking? Su Yang looked at her with a nonchalant look on his face. The information broker found his demeanor familiar for some reason, but she didn't have the time to think about it. Okay. If you want to use a soul validity scroll, let's do it. The information broker then stood up and went to the back of the store for a minute before returning with a sealed scroll in her hands. Once she returned to her seat, she placed the scroll on the small table between them and said, "Whenever you're ready." Su Yang looked at the scroll in silence for a moment. A soul validity scroll is normally used during extreme situations where two parties do not trust each other and risk their soul in the process. And the soul validity scroll has the ability to tell whether someone is telling the truth or not simply by examining one's memories and soul. Although there are other methods to tell whether one was lying or telling the truth, they were not as accurate as the soul validity scroll that has never failed before. What? Are you having second thoughts? The information broker suddenly asked him. Su Yang smiled and said, "Yeah, right." He then placed his hand on the other side of the soul validity scroll. "Let's start with a test, shall we?" the information broker said, and she continued, "My name is Mu Yuechen." The soul validity scroll emitted a light blue glow a moment after she said her name. Su Yang then said, "I am a cultivator at the sovereign spirit realm." The soul validity scroll emitted a light blue glow again. Mu Yuechen raised her eyebrows under her large hood that covered her face. Even though Su Yang told the truth just now, she still found it weird, as she had expected Su Yang to reveal his name to follow her. Is he hiding his name for some reason? Mu Yuechen wondered inwardly. A moment later, she said, "Good. Let's do this for real now." And she continued, "If you tell me something about Su Yang that I don't already know, I will tell you everything I know about the Su family." The soul validity scroll emitted a light blue light. Su Yang nodded and said, "What I am about to say is completely true and not made up." Of course, Su Yang would trust Mu Yuechen even without needing the soul validity scroll. However, that was not the case for Mu Yuechen, as she didn't know him, hence why Su Yang resorted to this method. Su Yang closed his eyes and took a deep breath. A moment later, he opened his eyes and began speaking in a calm voice, telling Mu Yuechen something that only he, Su Yang, would know, and it was about an embarrassing moment that he had when he was still young and naive. Mu Yuechen's eyes widened with shock and disbelief when she heard this information, as she couldn't believe that the Su Yang she knew would have such an embarrassing secret. Su Yang then continued, "What I said just now was the truth. It was not made up at all." When Mu Yuechen saw the soul validity scroll emit a light blue glow, her eyes widened even more. "I am possible," Mu Yuechen mumbled in a dazed voice. "Ahem." Su Yang had to clear his throat after revealing one of his top secrets, and then he said, "It's your turn. Now tell me, did you know about this information prior to today?" After a long moment of silence, she mumbled in a low and defeated voice, "No, I did not." A second later, the soul validity scroll emitted a light blue glow. Chapter 893, Are all of them still alive? Seeing the light blue glow, Su Yang smiled and removed his hand from the soul validity scroll at the same time. "There you have it. Now tell me everything you know about the Su family," he said to Mu Yuechen, who remained completely still and silent. After a few minutes of silence, she tossed the soul validity scroll to the side and removed the hood covering her face, revealing to Su Yang her stunningly beautiful appearance and the deep frown on her face. "How? Where did you get this information about Su Yang?" Mu Yuechen asked him in a solemn voice, clearly unhappy that she'd lost to some unknown fatty like him. I have spoken to nearly every single woman that had a connection with Su Yang, yet I don't know about this. Seeing Mu Yuechen's body trembling slightly, he said, I already told you that I was Su Yang's descendant, right? I heard it from my mother, who heard it from Su Yang himself. Mu Yuechen narrowed her eyes at him. Then she picked up the soul validity scroll from the floor and placed it on the table again. Go ahead. I dare you to say that again while holding the soul validity scroll, she said, clearly not believing his bullshit. Su Yang cleared his throat and said, this wasn't part of our agreement. If he listened to Mu Yuechen and repeated those words while holding the soul validity scroll, there was no doubt in his mind that his soul would be shattered into countless pieces for lying. HMPH, you might be able to fool others with that nonsense, but you won't fool me, Mu Yuechen then said. Su Yang shrugged, not my problem. And he continued, are you going to tell me about the Su family, or are you going to go back on your own words now that you're no longer touching the scroll? I'll start a protest outside your store if you do that, though. Or I can kill you right here and pretend none of this had happened, she said to him in a cold voice. Su Yang laughed and said, if you really do that, Su Yang might come back to life and spank your butt. What the heck are you talking about? How dare you say such vulgar things before me? Mu Yuechen suddenly stood up with a red face. What? You think I'd know about one of Su Yang's secrets yet not know about your relationship with him? I know you've cultivated with him before, 1,069 times to be exact, Su Yang said. How do you know such a thing? Who are you really? Mu Yuechen staggered in place with disbelief and even a hint of fear on her face, nearly falling on the ground. Who I am isn't important right now. I want to know about the Su family. Su Yang suddenly stopped laughing and wore a serious-looking expression on his face. After a moment of silence, Mu Yuechen returned to her seat, but she didn't say anything for a long time. What do you want to know about the Su family? She asked him sometime later. Tell me about what happened to them first. Who attacked them? 4 of the 10 families and 1 from the 4 supreme clans, she said. I want names. The Dai family, Chu family, Lu family, and the Kai family of the 10 families. As for the 4 supreme clans, it was the Ning clan. Mu Yuechen revealed to him the culprits that dared to attack the Su family after his death. The Dai family, Chu family, Lu family, Kai family, and the Ning clan. Su Yang repeated their names again and again, as though he wanted to engrave their names into his heart. What happened to the Su family during the attack? Su Yang then asked. Nothing really happened to the Su family since someone interfered and protected the Su family before the attackers could even do any real damage. That person wielding a sword the size of a star, correct? That's right. And if you're going to ask me for the identity of that person, I don't know. Mu Yuechen said to him. I have been trying to obtain information regarding that individual's identity for a while now, but alas, all of my efforts have been fruitless thus far. It's like nobody in this world knows that person. I have never seen anything like this before. Anyways, any more questions regarding the Su family? She asked him. Where is the Su family right now? Well, my answer will depend on who you're looking for, as most of the Su family had separated from each other after Su Yang's death. Though not everyone separated. Some of them decided to create a sect together, while others returned to their own family and previous homes. I believe a few of them even decided to live in seclusion for the rest of their lives. Su Yang was speechless after hearing this information. To think his family would scatter before he could return. But he wasn't too surprised, as he was the foundation and core of the family, and without a core, everything else will eventually collapse, just like cultivation itself. After a moment of silence, Su Yang asked Mu Yuechen one of the most difficult questions he had to ask to date. Are all of them still alive? When Mu Yuechen shook her head, Su Yang felt his heart turn cold before feeling indescribable pain. However, Mu Yuechen spoke a moment later. I don't know. What? Su Yang proceeded to stare at her with widened eyes. I said I don't know. I stopped gathering information about the Su family after they scattered. Su Yang is no longer in this world, so I don't have any desire or reason to continue gathering information about them, not to mention the Heavenly Emperor's order that advises us to not bother the Su family anymore. Mu Yuechen explained to him. So they might all still be alive. Su Yang mumbled to himself, feeling slightly more relieved now. However, he still didn't know if they were all safe, and this uncertainty was more than enough to keep him from being completely relaxed. Chapter 894 Sacred Land. Sometime later, Su Yang asked, "Can you tell me more about the sect that the Su family had created?" Mu Yuechen nodded and said, "There's not much to say about them. The sect was created about 1,000 years ago, and they have been growing steadily since then. In fact, they're already powerful enough to rival even some of the top sects in the four divine heavens. The only thing hindering their progress is the fact that they're only accepting female disciples. Their sect is also called the Lonely Fairy's Refined Palace, and their sect master is Luo Zi. Luo Zi, where is this sect located?" Su Yang then asked. "Don't tell me you're trying to go there. I wouldn't do that if I were you." "Why not?" "Because they are located in a place where men cannot step foot inside, or they'll be killed on the spot without any chance to explain themselves." Hearing this, Su Yang raised his eyebrows and said, "You're telling me they're located in the sacred lands?" Mu Yuechen nodded. "That's right. Not only are they located in the sacred lands, but they're located at the very center of it." "Indeed, this is very problematic," Su Yang said. "The sacred lands is one of the most secluded areas in the celestial heaven that prohibits all men from entering without any exceptions, and even the Heavenly Emperor is not exempted from this rule despite being the most powerful man in the four divine heavens. Of course, this doesn't mean it was impossible for Su Yang to meet his family. However, such privilege was only given to the previous Su Yang. If he were to try and enter the sacred lands right now without revealing his identity to the world, he'd probably be slain without even getting the chance to open his mouth. Although it'll be troublesome trying to get inside, this sect created by my family is definitely one of the safest places in the four divine heavens at the moment. If I let them take care of Su Liking and the others, I will be able to traverse the four divine heavens in relief." Su Yang thought to himself, planning on leaving those in the spatial device at the sect created by his family. Su Yang closed his eyes to ponder for a minute. Sometime later, he said, "I know you not only give out information but also pass information, so I want you to do something for me." "You want me to do something for you? I give you an inch and you want to take a mile, huh? Just in case you forgot, I am only telling you about the Su family because of the information you provided me. It's not like we're friends or anything. If you want me to do something for you, you'll have to pay up," Mu Yuechen said to him. Su Yang smiled and said, "Of course, I am not asking you to do this for free. I'll give you another piece of information about Su Yang that I can guarantee is new to you." "What? You have even more secrets about Su Yang?" Mu Yuechen stared at him with wide eyes, silently wondering to herself where in heaven's name did he acquire such information. "Only if you promise me that you'll help me convey a message to a certain somebody," Su Yang said. "Who?" "The sect master of the Lonely Fairy's Refined Palace, Luo Zi," he calmly said. "You want me to convey a message to Luo Zi? Are you insane? If you help me, I will tell you about that one time Su Yang almost mistook a." Su Yang stopped his sentence midway and smiled. "Actually, forget it. If you don't want to help me, I will ask someone else for help. Thanks for your help." He then stood up and prepared to leave. "Wait, sit back down. I never refused to help you," Mu Yuechen said with a frown on her face. Su Yang turned to look at her with a profound smile on his face. Even though he was dead, Mu Yuechen treasured information about him to such an extent. If he could, he'd strip her NAKID and reward her at this very moment. Su Yang returned to his seat a moment later. "What do you want me to tell her?" Mu Yuechen then asked. Su Yang took a deep breath and said, "I will see you at the frozen azure cave in 3 months when the azure lotus blooms." Mu Yuechen raised her eyebrows after hearing this message. The frozen azure cave. The azure lotus is an extremely rare treasure that only blooms once every 10,000 years, and the last time the azure lotus in the frozen azure cave blossomed was 6,000 years ago, meaning there's still 4,000 more years before it returns. So why did he say 3 months? Mu Yuechen wondered inwardly. "Did you get my message, or should I repeat it?" Su Yang asked her. "I heard it loud and clear," she said. "Make sure you repeat every single word without missing any, especially the 3 months part. That's the most important." Su Yang then said, "That will depend on the information you provide me. Now tell me about Su Yang's secret," she said in a calm manner. "Should we use the soul validity scroll again?" "There's no need," she shook her head. "I can tell whether one's lying or not even without the soul validity scroll." Su Yang nodded and suddenly asked, "Do you know of Li Menghua?" Li Menghua, that infamous immortal who likes to dress up as a woman to mess with men. What does he have to do with this? Mu Yuechen asked him. Well, when Su Yang was still an ignorant young man, he'd almost been fooled by Li Menghua. Because of that, he'd wasted at least 100 years studying men and women just to make sure he never makes the same mistake again. Su Yang revealed another one of his secrets that he swore he'd never tell anyone. Mu Yuechen's jaw dropped to the floor after hearing this chapter 895, Frozen Asgard. Su Yang almost got fooled by that pervert Li Menghua. Heavens! I could have never imagined. No wonder why he seems to hate men. Mu Yuechen muttered to herself. Sometime later, Mu Yuechen asked him, "Do you have anything else to say or ask?" Su Yang pondered for a moment before speaking. "Yeah, can I borrow some money?" "What, you're asking me for money? I should be charging you for taking up my precious time." Mu Yuechen looked at him with a frown on her face. "This is the first time I have seen someone this shameless or not." Su Yang was also pretty shameless, if not even more shameless than this fatty, she thought to herself. "I think the information I gave you just now is worth more than just conveying a message. Don't you agree?" Su Yang suddenly said. "How much do you want?" she asked. "Just enough to get to the frozen Asgard from this place." "You're really planning on traveling to the frozen Asgard with your cultivation base. As a sovereign spirit realm cultivator, you'll definitely die before you can even reach the frozen azure cave that's deep within the frozen Asgard," Mu Yuechen said to him. "Are you worried about me?" "Thank you, but you don't need to be worried. I have my own ways to survive," said Su Yang with a smile on his face. "Gee, who's worried about you?" Mu Yuechen sneered in a cold manner before placing a storage pouch on the table. "Take it and get out. You have already lingered around for far too long. I have other customers too," she said in a cold voice. Su Yang accepted the storage pouch. "Thank you, Mu Yuechen," he said. Su Yang stood up and prepared to leave. However, right as he reached the door, Mu Yuechen spoke in a serious and chilling voice. "I don't care who you are or what you're planning to do with all that information about the Su family, but if they are hurt because of it, I swear I will hunt you down and skin you alive, fatty." And she continued, "Don't underestimate me. I have connections within every corner in the 4 divine heavens. You won't be able to run or hide even if you run to the end of the universe." Su Yang turned around with a profound smile on his face and he said, "I know. Thank you." Mu Yuechen was surprised when Su Yang thanked her again despite her threatening words, and there was even a hint of adoration within his tone. This creeped Mu Yuechen out. "Gee, get out," she quickly said to him after feeling a shiver down her spine. After Su Yang left the building, Mu Yuechen quickly cleared out the queue that had built up because of Su Yang's long stay. After that was done, she closed the store down and disappeared somewhere. Sometime later, Su Yang and Xiao Rong left the Tower of Intelligence and the city. Wow, 200 high-grade spirit stones. She gave a generous amount. Su Yang was surprised when he looked inside the storage pouch that Mu Yuechen had given him despite her complaining. Now with a total of 220 high-grade spirit stones, Su Yang no longer had to worry about his travel expenses to the frozen Asgard, as he'd planned on selling some more of his Yang Qi to fund his travel expenses. Are we going to this frozen Asgard place now, Master? Xiao Rong asked him once they entered the skies on their flying treasure. Su Yang nodded and said, "That's right. Frozen Asgard is a unique place in the celestial heaven that's a virtually uninhabitable ice-covered landmass spanning for hundreds of thousands of miles, and it is also considered a danger zone." And he continued, "A danger zone is, as the name suggests, an incredibly dangerous area that shouldn't be traversed unless you're prepared. There are magical beasts ranging from the sovereign spirit realm to the ancient spirit realm, and the deeper we go, the more dangerous it'll get. The place we're going to is called the Frozen Azure Cave that exists deep within the frozen Asgard. It is also an incredibly popular place that attracts countless experts every 10,000 years because of a treasure that grows inside. Although it may seem risky to go to such an incredibly dangerous place, it's really not that dangerous as long as you know the way around the area. There are these hidden passages you can follow to avoid most of the magical beasts. Unless we're incredibly unlucky, we shouldn't run into any extremely dangerous entities." Xiao Rong nodded calmly, "Okay. But first, we must head to the Song province." They proceeded to spend the next couple of days traveling to a city that had a teleport formation. The Song province, that'll be 60 high-grade spirit stones, the man working the teleport formation said to him. Since the Song province was literally on the other side of the world, teleporting to that place would require a large number of spirit stones. The moment Su Yang appeared on the other side, he felt the temperature drop sharply. Haya! Every breath he took would be followed by a cloud of water vapor from his mouth. "It's been a while since I have experienced such cold climates," Su Yang thought to himself as he got off the platform. As a cultivator at the sovereign spirit realm, his body would naturally protect him against the cold. However, despite that, Su Yang still planned on getting some special clothes, as the cold wind at frozen Asgard could penetrate even a cultivator's spiritual energy. While he can avoid the magical beasts through secret passages, it was impossible to avoid the cold in that place. After walking around the city for some time, Su Yang entered a tall building with an expensive sign at the entrance that read, "Crystal Armory Chapter 896 Frozen Palace. Welcome to Crystal Armory. How can we help you?" A middle-aged man greeted Su Yang and Xiao Rong at the doors. "I'm heading to the frozen Asgard, so we'll need some clothes to protect us from the cold," Su Yang said. "The frozen Asgard, right? Please follow me. I can guarantee you that we'll have everything you need," the middle-aged man said. Su Yang nodded and followed him upstairs to the top floor. "How long do you intend on staying in the frozen Asgard? We have clothes that can protect you against the eternal chill for 1 month, 6 months, or 1 year. Give us the one that lasts for 6 months, Su Yang said. "I understand. Then would you like to pick from what we already have in store, or do you prefer custom-made clothes that'll fit your body perfectly?" "It'll cost 1,000 medium-grade spirit stones for the former and 1 high-grade spirit stone for the latter." Su Yang looked around the room before asking, "How long will it take to get it custom-made?" 1 month at the latest. "We'll get it custom-made." Su Yang nodded. "That will be 2 high-grade spirit stones in total. We will immediately begin taking your measurements afterward." Once Su Yang handed 2 high-grade spirit stones to the middle-aged man, he said, "Thank you for your business, esteemed guest. Please wait a moment while I get someone to take your measurements." A few minutes later, the middle-aged man returned to them with a young woman by his side. Once everything was done, the middle-aged man handed Su Yang 2 tokens. Please keep these tokens safe. We will ask for them when you pick up the clothes. Also, you can come and ask for updates, but the earliest it'll be ready in 3 weeks. Su Yang accepted the tokens before leaving the store. Well, we have a month to spare. Is there anything specific you want to do? Su Yang asked Xiao Rong afterward. Xiao Rong didn't say anything, yet Su Yang knew exactly what she wanted by her gaze that was looking at his groin area. Su Yang chuckled and said, "All right, I will find us a hotel later. For now, let's go eat some food." Although I don't eat unless it's a special occasion, I feel like eating for some reason. As cultivators above the earth spirit realm, food wasn't necessary for their survival, as they can acquire the same benefit and more from absorbing spiritual energy. Thus, Su Yang and Xiao Rong began hopping from restaurant to restaurant until they were bored of eating. Once they were finished eating, Su Yang led Xiao Rong to this luxurious building that had 10 floors. "Welcome to the Frozen Palace." A young woman greeted them at the door. Su Yang went straight to the reception desk after entering the building. "Give me a room on the 10th floor for 1 month, he said to the pretty young lady working behind the desk. "Have you been here before, esteemed guest?" the young lady asked him with a smile on her face. "No. Can I have your name?" "Xiao Yang." The young lady nodded and said, "Then, young Master Xiao, it would cost 50,000 medium-grade spirit stones or 5 high-grade spirit stones to rent a room on the 10th floor for 30 days. You must pay 70% up front and the rest when you leave." Su Yang placed 5 high-grade spirit stones on the desk and said, "Here. Thank you very much. Please give me a moment to get your keys." Sometime later, the young lady handed a token to Su Yang. "Please enjoy your stay. If there's anything you need, there will be workers in the hallway around the clock to assist you." Once Su Yang had the keys, he went upstairs to the 10th floor with Xiao Rong. The moment they stepped onto the 10th floor, the spiritual energy in that area immediately became many times thicker. The spiritual energy was so thick that, when Su Yang inhaled, he would feel his cultivation base soar a little. This is exactly why he decided to spend so much money on a hotel. The Frozen Palace is a unique place that has special formations that attract the surrounding spiritual energy before enhancing its quality. If he stayed here for a month, he'd be able to break through 2 levels without needing to absorb any yin qi. Once they reached their room, Su Yang used the token to open the door that was protected by a powerful formation that even he would not be able to break at his current level. "Enjoy your stay, esteemed guests." After closing the door, Su Yang said, "I'm going to take a warm bath first. Wanna join?" Xiao Rong nodded. A moment later, they went to the bathroom that had a bathtub as large as an entire room and with hot water already prepared. Su Yang loosened his robes before tossing them to the side and entering the bath. Xiao Rong followed him and undressed. "Come here." Su Yang pointed at his legs. Xiao Rong nodded and entered the bath before sitting directly on top of Su Yang's legs. Su Yang then hugged her petite body from behind. A few moments later, his hands approached the closed slit between her legs. Meanwhile, somewhere in the celestial heaven, Mu Yuechen approached a large portal that was protected by multiple guards. "Halt!" the guards shouted at her from a distance. Mu Yuechen didn't stop and tossed a medallion at one of the guards. "My name is Mu Yuechen, and I am going to the sacred lands," she declared. Mu Yuechen. The guards appeared to be shocked by her name. Chapter 897. Mu Yuechen. Greetings, immortal fairy Mu. The guards there quickly bowed to her once they verified her identity. "Set up the teleport for the sacred lands. I have some business there," she said to them. "Right away. Please give us a couple of minutes." Mu Yuechen nodded before pulling out a chair and taking a seat on the spot. "What is immortal fairy Mu doing here? I don't even think she has the authority to enter the sacred lands." One of the guards there whispered to another. Who cares? This is Mu Yuechen we're talking about. If we refuse to help her, she'll dig out all of our information from our birth to now in a day, said another. Yes, immortal fairy Mu is one of the most powerful and dangerous women in the four divine heavens, and it has nothing to do with her cultivation. Her connections and information-gathering ability is one of, if not the best, within the four divine heavens. I remember that time she exposed the submerged divine palace's million-year corruption and evil deeds to the four divine heavens, causing their demise without moving a single finger. She can literally ruin a person's entire life if they have committed even a single crime. Suddenly, Mu Yuechen's voice resounded. I can hear you, Lin Kai, Sheng Shikai, Wan Guchen. When the guards heard their name come from Mu Yuechen's mouth despite meeting her for the first time, their eyes widened with shock and their bodies trembled in fear. Please spare us, immortal fairy Mu. They got onto their knees and kowtowed to her. Mu Yuechen remained nonchalant and said, I don't care, just hurry up and prepare the teleport formation. I have some business to take care of in the sacred lands. Right away. A little over a minute later, the teleport formation was prepared. How much? Mu Yuechen asked the guards afterward. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't know it was free to use the teleport formation. The sacred lands is pretty far away after all, she said. The guards smiled and said, it's not free, but we're making this an exception for immortal fairy Mu. Then I won't be humble, Mu Yuechen said as she approached the teleport formation, disappearing from the platform. Phew, that was nerve-wracking. The guards there released sighs of relief afterward. Mu Yuechen. She's definitely as scary as the rumors say. Can you imagine being the lover of such an individual? I shudder at that thought. Are you crazy? Although she's a peerless beauty who would dare to become her man, she'll dig up all of your secrets before you can even blink. I can only imagine someone extremely pure and innocent becoming her lover. Let's stop talking about her. I'm afraid that she'll learn about this conversation, one of the guards suggested. They all nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, after entering the teleport formation, Mu Yuechen appeared in the area directly outside the sacred lands, where even more guards were posted. Who are you? The guards asked her when she got close. Mu Yuechen. She handed them her medallion. Mu Yuechen, that famous information broker. Did you receive authorization to enter the sacred lands? You may be a woman, but not all women can enter the place. One of the guards said to her. No, I don't. Can you make this an exception? I have business with the Lonely Fairies' refined palace and their sect master Luozi, she said. The Lonely Fairies' refined palace. I'm sorry, but even if you're Mu Yuechen, I cannot let you enter without permission from the Empress of the Sacred Lands, especially if you're here for the Lonely Fairies' refined palace. Mu Yuechen remained calm and said, let me speak with your supervisor. I'm sorry, Fairy Immortal Mu, but even if you speak with the general. Mu Yuechen then interrupted. You can either get your supervisor here or I can tell your wife about your affair with Lu Jiajing. The guard immediately stopped talking and stared at Mu Yuechen with a shocked look on his face. How did she know about his affair? Are you threatening me? The guard frowned. Mu Yuechen remained nonchalant and said, yes, I am. What are you going to do about it? Let her go. Another voice suddenly resounded, causing everybody there to turn their head. General Kai. The guards greeted him in a respectful voice. Let her enter the sacred lands. General Kai repeated, and he continued, I will bear all responsibility if something happens. Right away. The guards no longer dared to block Mu Yuechen and made a path for her. Mu Yuechen didn't say anything and entered the sacred lands a moment later. General, why? The guards asked him afterward. General Kai shook his head and said, you don't want to know about it. Just remember this, if you don't want to lose your life, don't argue with Mu Yuechen. Countless people and powers that are much more powerful than me have fallen because of her. The guards there swallowed nervously, silently engraving their general's words in their hearts. Although they are aware of the information broker called Mu Yuechen, they didn't know the extent of her influence within the four divine heavens. However, the main reason I allowed her to pass isn't because I'm scared of her. Mu Yuechen, as terrifying as her influence may seem, she's not a bad individual. I doubt she's going to the sacred lands to cause trouble, General Kai said a moment later. Anyways, continue guarding the sacred lands. I have a meeting later. General Kai left the scene shortly after. After entering the sacred lands, Mu Yuechen retrieved her flying treasure, and she began making her way towards the lonely fairy's refined palace. However, even with her powerful flying treasure, it will still take her around a week to arrive at her destination. Chapter 898 Wang Yunxuan. A week has passed since Mu Yuechen entered the sacred lands. So that's the lonely fairy's refined palace, huh? It looks quite simple, completely different from my imaginations. Mi Yuechen mumbled to herself after seeing the sect that looked like an ordinary sect. However, the powerful formation protecting the sect and the spiritual energy gathering in this area was anything but ordinary or simple. After taking a moment to admire the place, Mu Yuechen approached the sect. However, once she got close enough to the sect, the formation suddenly activated, and a massive amount of spiritual energy in the form of swords appeared around the sect before pointing its blade at Mi Yuechen and shooting at her. Mu Yuechen raised her eyebrows when she saw this, yet she didn't panic. I should have asked that fatty for more information about Su Yang. She sighed in a regretful voice before sweeping her arm in the direction of the incoming swords. Whoosh! A powerful wave of spiritual energy flew at the swords, destroying them with ease. After destroying the swords, even more swords appeared around the sect, and they have also gotten stronger as well. Mu Yuechen waved her sleeves again, destroying the swords. She then approached the sect while she continued to defend herself from the formation. After destroying over 10,000 swords, the formation suddenly stopped working. A moment later, a dozen figures emerged from within the sect and surrounded Mu Yuechen. "Who are you? Can't you see that you're not welcomed?" one of them asked her with a frown. Mu Yuechen smiled and said, "I am Mu Yuechen, an information broker at the Tower of Intelligence." Mu Yuechen. A few of them have heard her name before, but not everyone was aware of her identity. "What is your purpose at the lonely fairy's refined palace? You, an information broker, should be well aware that our doors are closed for visitors." "I am here to send a message to your sect master, Luo Zi. Tell her to come see me." "The sect master. If you have a message, we'll tell her." Mu Yuechen shook her head and said, "Unfortunately, I was only told to pass the message directly to Luo Zi." "Then I guess you'll have to keep that message to yourself," said one of them. Mu Yuechen sighed out loud and said, "Let's not make things complicated. Bring me Luo Zi and I will leave peacefully." "And what are you going to do if we don't?" The 12 beauties suddenly took an aggressive stance. Depending on what comes out of Mu Yuechen's mouth next, they may or may not attack her. Mu Yuechen smiled after seeing this, and she spoke in a calm voice. "I may not be as powerful as your sect master, but I am more than enough to deal with all of you here." A powerful pressure suddenly appeared in the place as Mu Yuechen released some of her aura, causing the 12 beauties to kneel on the floor. "Just stay there and you won't get hurt. I don't want to cause a scene in the Su family's territory, but I have a job to do," Mu Yuechen said to them as she began stepping towards the gates of the sect. However, before she could walk too far, another presence appeared in the area, canceling out Mu Yuechen's aura. "Mu Yuechen, what is the meaning of this? Why are you causing troubles for our disciples?" A beautiful woman with breathtaking features suddenly descended from the skies and landed between Mu Yuechen and the disciples. She then smiled and said, "It's been a while, Wang Yunxuan. Your disciples weren't being very cooperative despite me asking nicely, so I messed with them a little." Wang Yunxuan frowned and said, "Why are you here, Mu Yuechen? I cannot imagine that you'd come all the way here just to mess with our disciples. I have some business with Luo Zi. Bring me to her." "Sister Zi, why do you need to speak with her?" I'm sorry, but I cannot tell you even if you're Su Yang's woman, since I was told to speak with Luo Zi. Wang Yongxuan frowned when she heard the name Su Yang. Did you really have to mention his name? What? You're still not over his death? I understand your feelings, but get over it. It's been over 2,000 years. That's rich coming from you, Mu Yuechen. If you were over him, you wouldn't be collecting his information even after his death. Furthermore, I refuse to believe that Su Yang's dead. After all, I still have his family seal on my body. It may be deactivated, but if he's really dead, it should have disappeared the day he died. Mu Yuechen shook her head. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Anyways, I won't leave this place until I speak with Luo Zi. Wang Yongxuan released a stressful sigh. Knowing Mu Yuechen's stubborn character, she knew that it was impossible to convince her to leave, and because of their relationship, she didn't want to force Mu Yuechen to leave either. Although Mu Yuechen did not belong to the Su family, she contributed a lot to the Su family when Su Yang was still alive, and she even helped them on a few occasions after his death. After pondering for a moment, Wang Yongxuan turned to look at the disciples and said to them, "Thank you for your hard work. You may return to your positions. I will take care of things from here." The ladies bowed to her in a respectful manner before leaving the scene. Once they left, Wang Yongxuan turned to look at Mu Yuechen and said, "Come with me. I'll take you to see Luo Zi. However, if she decides to beat you for bothering her, I won't save you." Mu Yuechen smiled upon hearing such words. "Thank you, Wang Yongxuan." Wang Yongxuan brought Mu Yuechen into the sect shortly after. Chapter 899, Luo Zi. This place is developing pretty nicely. Although it looks simple on the outside, it's actually the complete opposite inside. Mu Yuechen praised their sect after seeing the structures and the disciples inside. Every single building in this place appeared to have a powerful formation protecting it, alongside other formations that increased the quality of profound qi in the air. All of the disciples they have encountered thus far also looked happy and content with their lifestyle. It was a rare sight for sects within the divine heavens to look so calm and peaceful, as the disciples normally see each other as competitors and are stressed by trying to gain recognition by the sect. "Good morning, elder sister Wang." The disciples within the sect greeted Wang Yongxuan as though they were an actual family. "Morning, junior sister Ling." Wang Yongxuan greeted the disciples back in a similar fashion. "Hey, Wang Yongxuan, I have a question for you," Mu Yuechen suddenly said. "What is it? Do you know a fatty by the name of Xiao Yang?" Mu Yuechen asked. "A fatty? I don't know any fatties, at least I'm not familiar with any of them," she quickly responded. Fat people were incredibly rare in the cultivation world, even rarer than ugly people, since increasing one's cultivation also enhances their fitness and beauty, and a cultivator has near-perfect control over their own body, allowing them to get rid of the fat in their body without exercising. The only reason someone would remain fat in the cultivation world is by choice, or they're inflicted with some sort of illness that causes them to be fat. You don't. That fatty seemed very familiar with the Su family. In fact, he even asked about you guys. Mu Yuechen revealed this to her. Wang Yongxuan stopped walking and turned to look at her with narrowed eyes. What did this fatty want to know about my family? Don't worry, it wasn't anything malicious, at least I didn't feel any coming from him. In fact, he even appeared somewhat concerned about the Su family. He claimed to be Su Yang's descendant at first, but he was clearly lying. Su Yang's descendant. As if Su Yang was a man who refused to impregnate even his own family. I have tried plenty of times, but he would always refuse. Wang Yongxuan sighed with a regretful look on her face. If they had a child with Su Yang, perhaps they wouldn't be as lonely. I thought so as well, Mu Yuechen said. Anyways, what did that fatty ask about my family? Wang Yongxuan asked again. Nothing much besides about the family's current state and about that incident 2,000 years ago, she said. And what did you tell him? What I knew. You. Wang Yongxuan was clearly unhappy about Mu Yuechen's decision to give away their information to some stranger. Calm down. I already told you that he didn't look like a bad guy, and he had an irresistible offer for me, so I had to agree. Mu Yuechen shrugged casually. Irresistible offer. Wang Yongxuan raised her eyebrows. The only information Mu Yuechen would consider as irresistible would be information about Su Yang. Mu Yuechen smiled and said, "That's right. He gave me information about Su Yang that I never knew about, and it would surely shock you if you also knew about it." "What? How is that possible? There's no way some stranger would know more about Su Yang than you. How can you be so sure that the information was real?" Wang Yongxuan clearly doubted the information's legitimacy. He used a soul validity scroll. If he lied, he would have died on the spot. Wang Yongxuan frowned even more after hearing this, and she began growing interest in this mysterious fatty. Anyway, maybe we'll learn more about him from Luo Zi. You said that you have a message to pass to her, right? Is this message from this fatty? Yes, it's from him. Luo Zi lives in this small place. How surprising, Mu Yuechen said. Wang Yongxuan then said, "You have no idea how much this place means to Sister Zi. This hill, it was actually relocated from the Jade Heaven to this place." "Huh, you're saying that she'd moved an entire hill to this place. Why? You don't know? How surprising," Wang Yongxuan said with a smile. "Even I don't know everything, all right," Mu Yuechen quickly said. "If you want to know, you can ask her yourself." Wang Yongxuan then approached the building on the peak of the hill. "Sister Zi, you have a guest." A few moments later, the door to the building opened and a woman with a graceful yet cold appearance appeared. "I don't remember setting any appointments," said Luo Zi. Then she noticed Mu Yuechen. "Mu Yuechen, what are you doing here?" "I am here to pass on a message to you," she said. "A message from whom? You're the last person I'd expect to deliver a message for someone." "I know, it's kind of complicated. Anyways, it's from a fatty named Xiao Yang. Do you know him?" "A fatty?" Luo Zi raised her slender eyebrows. "I don't know of any fatty named Xiao Yang. What kind of message does he have for me?" Mu Yuechen then cleared her throat before speaking in a clear voice. "I will see you at the frozen azure cave in 3 months when the azure lotus blooms." Luo Zi's eyes widened with shock after hearing Mu Yuechen's words, and she even took a few steps back in an unbalanced manner, looking like she was drunk. "Sister Zi, what's going on? What does this message mean?" "The last time the azure lotus was harvested was 6,000 years ago, so it shouldn't bloom for another 4,000 years according to my knowledge," Wang Yongxuan asked her, feeling a little baffled by Luo Zi's reaction. Chapter 900. What if it's a trap? "I will see you at the frozen azure cave in 3 months when the azure lotus blooms." Luo Zi repeated the message in a low voice, and memories began flashing through her mind. After a long moment of silence, she turned to look at Mu Yuechen with a serious expression on her face, and she spoke in a solemn voice. "Tell me everything about this Xiao Yang." "Sure," Mu Yuechen nodded in a somewhat dazed face. This was her first time seeing Luo Zi acting so serious. A few moments later, Luo Zi brought the two of them inside the building where they were seated. "Now tell me everything," Luo Zi repeated. Mu Yuechen nodded and proceeded to recall her encounter with Xiao Yang and everything they spoke about. Of course, she didn't tell them about Su Yang's secrets that she'd learned from him, as this was her own secret. Though she did tell him that in exchange for her information, Xiao Yang gave her information on Su Yang. Luo Zi held a serious expression on her face this entire time, not daring to miss a single word coming out of Mu Yuechen's mouth, even staring at her without blinking until the end. "So you have no information on this Xiao Yang despite being the best information broker in the 4 divine heavens. Your title is questionable," Luo Zi said to her in a slightly mocking tone. "Wah, that was uncalled for," Mu Yuechen quickly said, and she continued, "I just wasn't given any time to look him up because I came straight here after our conversation. Give me a month and I'll dig out everything about him. No need. Luo Zi stood up and said, What do you mean? You don't need to find out about him since I have an idea. Really? Who is he? Mu Yuechen asked. I also want to know, is he an acquaintance of yours, Sister Zi? Wang Yongxuan asked her. Luo Zi showed a mysterious smile on her face and said, I don't want to get your hopes up, so I won't say anything for now. Let the other sisters know that I will be gone for a while. Where are you going? Frozen Azure Cave, she responded in a calm voice. What, you're really going there? What if it's a trap? The azure lotus won't bloom in 3 months, Mu Yuechen said to her. Luo Zi shook her head. This has nothing to do with the azure lotus. Anyways, I am going to go to the frozen Asgard right now. If I leave any later, I won't make it there in 3 short months. Should I come with you? Mu Yuechen suddenly asked. A smile appeared on Luo Zi's face and she said, Thank you for worrying about me, but you have already done enough by conveying this message. From this point forth, it's my problem. How long will you be gone? There's going to be a meeting with the Sacred Empress next month, Wang Yongxuan said. Sorry, but I most likely won't be there for it. Please apologize to the Sacred Empress for me. Wang Yongxuan nodded. All right. I will leave the sect in your hands, Luo Zi said to her before leaving the building and flying away in her flying treasure. Do you have any idea what this is about? Mu Yuechen asked Wang Yongxuan afterward. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you, Wang Yongxuan said. What? Why? I don't remember offending you. Mu Yuechen looked at her with wide eyes. You know too much about Su Yang, even more than me, she then said. Oh, so you're jealous, Mu Yuechen chuckled. Of course, Wang Yongxuan said, not denying it. Whatever, I'll go and do my own investigations, Mu Yuechen said before flying away as well. Meanwhile, after leaving the lonely fairy's refined palace, Luo Zi went straight to the nearest teleport formation. I hope it's really you, she mumbled in a low voice as her flying treasure sped across the lands. After reaching the teleport formation that Mu Yuechen came from, the guards there were shocked to see Luo Zi show up. Immortal Fairy Luo, they all bowed to her. Luo Zi glanced at them and said, Take me to the closest you can to frozen Asgard. Right away. They immediately began preparing the teleport formation without any questions asked. In the sacred lands, Luo Zi could be considered the second most powerful individual, only below one person, the Sacred Empress that rules over the entire sacred lands. Once the teleport formation was prepared, Luo Zi entered it. Meanwhile, inside the frozen palace, Su Yang inserted his thick rod inside Xiao Rong's tight rear hole while they were still inside the bath. Even though most of his physical body changed, his nether region remained authentic and unchanged. This was the same for Xiao Rong, as her caves remained unchanged. Xiao Rong released a soft moan when she felt Su Yang's meat stick entering her tight hole. Once his rod was fully inside her butthole, Su Yang grabbed her slim waist and began moving her body while he also moved his hips. Su Yang and Xiao Rong stayed inside the bath for a couple of hours before they left it. However, they went straight to the bed afterward, where they continued to enjoy themselves. After an entire week of pleasuring Xiao Rong, Su Yang proceeded to spend the next 3 weeks absorbing the spiritual energy inside the hotel, boosting his cultivation level by 2 whole levels and reaching the 4th level sovereign spirit realm. All right, Xiao Rong, let's go pick up our clothes and start making our way to the frozen Asgard. I'm pretty sure Luo Zi is already on her way to the frozen Azure Cave if she's not there already, Su Yang said to her. Xiao Rong nodded, and they went downstairs to check out of the hotel before returning to the Crystal Armory.